Trump says he will pardon the ex-president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who is spending his life in prison for, listen to this one, trafficking drugs into the United States. Yeah, Trump has been granted the power to pardon by the American people, and I trust his judgment more than yours, and he says many people around him say this was a Biden setup. Well, it was actually Trump's DOJ who began investigating Juan in 2017 and named him as a co-conspirator in 2019 to his brother's drug trafficking case. And let's just confirm what an American jury found Juan guilty of. While he was president, he took millions of dollars of bribes from the cartels, including $1 million one from El Chapo, and in exchange, he used the Honduran military and police to ensure cartel cocaine safely passed through his country to the U.S. Plus, he stopped the extradition of traffickers, among many other things. Look, this case did lean heavily on cartel witnesses who had a huge incentive to blame a high-value target to cut their time. Plus, Juan used to be considered an ally of the U.S., and as president of the Honduran Congress in 2012, he pushed through the law that allowed extradition of Honduran drug traffickers to the U.S. Yeah, and that law led to his extradition. Funny what $1 million bribes turn a man into. But it's crazy how Trump is blowing up alleged drug boats in the Caribbean, killing people without a trial, and then you have a drug trafficker who went through a full trial and was convicted of drug trafficking, and in this case, Trump takes the side of the trafficker. It's just absurd, no matter how you look at it. Well, another way to look at this is Juan used to be the leader of the National Party in Honduras, whom a lot of people within that party consider him a political prisoner. Now, Honduras is currently having their presidential election, and Trump is supporting the pro-American National Party candidate. So this pardon may be a sign of goodwill to repair the U.S.-Honduran relationship going forward to ensure future cooperation in the fight against drug trafficking. According to his conviction, Juan Orlando Hernandez once bragged, quote, "We're going to shove the drugs right up the noses of the gringos." I mean, Trump claims each drug boat in the Caribbean has enough drugs to kill 25 to 50,000 Americans. It's scary to think how many Americans were killed because of the man Trump is now pardoning. This makes a foolery of our justice system and Trump's tough on drug stance. Look, as President Trump has to take each situation individually and analyze all factors. Maybe he sees what Juan did as water under the bridge and a pardon as a way to save future American lives, especially if it increases Honduran-U.S. ties going forward. Well, it shows the U.S. is not serious about the true enablers of drug trafficking, as if you have the right connections, you will be pardoned. Going after a former president seems extreme. If we start arresting presidents of other countries for stuff happening in their country under their leadership, any world leader can effectively be charged. Dude, he took millions of dollars of bribes and used his military to ensure drugs made it through his country on the way to America. This is weakness on every level. I disagree. Sometimes the bigger man looks past the past to build a brighter future. Ask the mothers of people who overdose how they like that logic. Oh, please.
Basically, I'm here to announce that we're building Iron Man.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
So I've become friends with school shooters.
Do you think Bill Clinton was our first black president?
Is Elmo now, or has he ever been, a member of the Communist Party?
El hombre del peliquin.
Gotta have them ribs. And pussy too.
Do you hate cops just because they're cops? The next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. I'm John Kennedy, and I approve this message.
Wakanda forever. Paid for by Kamala Harris.
Someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
I think you called me a liar on national TV. I think you called me a liar on national TV.
I could come down and start kissing everybody. I'll kiss every guy, man and woman, man and woman. Look at that guy, how handsome he is. I'll kiss him.
Oh my goodness. That's always so funny. But all right, guys, let's get right into it. Yo, and we are live, and this is Set with Set Media, guys. I am back with another one. All right, guys, we're about to go ahead and get into a media analysis because we got to get into, well, Hegseth getting put under fire for these possible, that second strike that might be a possible war crime. The Venezuela situation heats up and a whole lot more, guys. All right, let's get right into it. Let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys.
We're in a very nice airplane, but it's rocky. Any questions? We had some great economic numbers come out. As you know, we're doing very well economically. A lot of factories are being built all over the country and all of that, but very strong numbers came out. Go ahead. Can you give us an update on what took place in South Florida today, those talks between the U.S. and the Ukrainians? Well, they're going along. They're going along well. We want to stop people from being killed. It doesn't have much to do with us. And I'd like to see if we can save a lot of souls. A lot of people are being killed. Last month, we had 27,000 people killed in that ridiculous war that should have never happened. Would have never happened to every person. Have you spoken with Rubio and White House? I have, yeah. I've spoken to them. And they're doing well. Ukraine's got some difficult little problems. Some difficult problems. But I think Russia would like to see it end, and I think I know Ukraine would like to see it end.
You just said that Ukraine has a little bit of problems.
Well, we have a corruption situation going on, which is not helpful.
And is that impeding the peace talks?
I said it was going on for 3 years, right? Didn't I say it? For 3 years I said it. So I was way ahead of schedule. But I think that there's a good chance we can make a deal.
Mr. President, on Venezuela, can you tell us more about why the airspace above Venezuela should be considered closed?
Because we consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country. They send millions of people, really, and probably a number in excess of that. And a lot of those people shouldn't be in our country, from jails, from gangs, from drug dealers, from all of the people that came into our country shouldn't have been in our country, causing a lot of problems. And drugs.
Does your warning mean that an airstrike is imminent, or should we not read it that way?
Don't read anything.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this right now. This clip perfectly explains what's going down there in Somalia. And sorry about my voice, guys. It's kind of cold and it caught me off guard. I mean, it's still actually snowing still. But yeah, this clip pretty much explains it pretty well and why the Somali community is getting put under heat right now.
Taxpayers have been defrauded by over $1 billion in Minnesota, mostly from Somali immigrants. Okay, fraud is horrible, yes, but can we stop the demonization of an entire community? Listen to this. This fraud spans across multiple federal and state programs in Minnesota, the largest one being a federal USDA program to feed hungry children, which uses federal dollars but is administered by the state. And prosecutors found that a nonprofit called Feeding Our Future became a partner to dozens of local businesses that enrolled as feeding sites, and the government reimbursed them for invoices claiming to have fed tens of thousands of children, when in actuality most of the meals were non-existent, and the business owners spent the funds on luxury cars, houses, and even real estate projects abroad. This fraud case cost taxpayers upwards to $250 million. Yeah, it's a horrible situation. No one is defending fraud, and those found culpable are being prosecuted. But again, why are you demonizing Somali Americans because of this? Well, since these massive fraud schemes in Minnesota have been discovered, 78 out of the 86 people who have been charged are of Somali descent, and a professor of Somali descent who is a leading expert in Somali studies told the New York Times part of this could be attributed to the fact that Somali refugees who came to the United States after their country's civil war were raised in a culture in which stealing from the country's dysfunctional and corrupt government was widespread. Maybe we should think more deeply about which countries we admit people from. Okay, stop it. Over 80,000 Somali immigrants live in Minnesota. What is it with this group punishment nonsense over the misdeeds of less than 0.1% of the Minnesota Somali population? Most of them are hardworking taxpayers who are just as negatively affected by this fraud as the rest of us. And the founder of Feeding Our Future, who was considered the ringleader of that $250 million fraud case, Amy Bach, clearly isn't Somali, so maybe we should stop the demonization. Well, Amy weaponized the liberal white guilt of Tim Walz and state regulators. In 2020, the Minnesota State Department of Education began raising questions about the plausibility of some invoices, and Feeding Our Future sent them an email saying that failing to promptly approve new applicants from minority-owned businesses would result in a lawsuit featuring accusations of racism that would be sprawled across the news. Well, what that suggests to me is that people from Somalia are not more likely to commit fraud, but they were just more likely to get away with it in Minnesota, as Minnesotans are very generous, and therefore they rank as the second best state in the nation for children among other high rankings. But this compassion makes them vulnerable for fraud, and I'd rather have a government err on the side of the people and get burned by a little fraud than not to care about the people at all. And just this year, Tim Walz proposed a new $39 million anti-fraud plan. How compassionate is it that a group that represents over 400 employees at the Minnesota Department of Human Services say they warned Tim Walz of this fraud early on back in 2020, and he retaliated against whistleblowers with monitoring, threats, and repression. So this fraud and enabling seems to run much deeper than what's apparent. And everyone is for getting to the bottom of this and rooting out fraud, but demonizing an entire group of immigrants based on the crimes of a few is sick. 78 out of 86, bud. Less than 0.01%, bud. Don't bud me, buddy boy.
Yeah, and that's the both sides arguments of that. And shout out to Both Side News. Make sure you follow that guy on TikTok. I actually like his TikTok. And I mean, they call it Men and Nice for a reason. So yeah, it was this whole scam was led by a Democrat, but abused by majority Somalis out of the 86 of them. 78 out of 86 is crazy. So this is where all the outrage is coming from. And still, is it right to demonize the whole community? Of course not. But I mean, come on now. At a certain point, though, you kind of can't blame people when the fraud is they were doing majority of the fraud in this operation. In this operation alone, okay, we're talking about a $250 million operation that, was being done through these 86 people. That's it. So you can't really say the whole community was in on it, but for sure, a majority of Somalians was in on it.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about it?
No, I can't do that.
Would you say it went well?
I would say it went well or badly.
Can we talk a little bit about the strikes and the controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth?
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
So you don't know if there was the second strike to kill the two men?
He said he didn't do it. He said he never said it.
Would you be okay with that if he did?
He said he didn't.
Now, Pete Hegseth said he didn't do it. They're shifting blame to one of the admirals who commenced a strike on a boat. Well, first, there was a strike on the boat that destroyed the boat. There was 2 survivors, and there was a second strike to pretty much obliterate the 2 survivors, which is pretty much a war crime. And now, we're asking, well, who commenced this strike? Like, did it come down from Hegseth, or was this just like, one of the admirals? Well, I mean, what happened?
Do it, try not to make that decision.
You've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S.
Right.
Can you explain more about why you can pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about.
Juan Orlando Hernandez.
Well, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden, look, Biden didn't know he was alive, but it was the people that surround the Resolute desk, surround Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up, and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country, and they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts, and I agreed with that.
What evidence did you share that he was set up?
Yeah, the ex-Honduran president's situation is a bit weird. So while he was in his presidency, he was pretty much doing everything to go against the cartel and really any foreign investment. So he was doing all the things that the cartel hated. But then when this whole RICO case came down on Honduras from America, somehow this guy is like the guy that gets taken away. It's a bit weird, but that's what happened. And they're pretty much saying that he just got a bad deal and he might have been framed. Allegedly, reportedly, supposedly.
Well, you take a look. I mean, they could say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his time.
President, can I just clarify, do you think the U.S.
That includes this country, okay? To be honest, I mean, if somebody does something wrong, you put the president of the country in jail. They said it was a Biden setup. It was a Biden administration setup. And you have a big race going on this week.
Oh, guys, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, guys.
Next week, I think it's going to be a very important race. It'll be interesting to see Honduras. That's what you're talking about, right?
Correct, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Well, what is the second part of your question? No, I don't have a deadline. I have a deadline when the war is over. And hopefully the war is going to be over. 27,000 people killed last week. 27,000 over the last 3 or 4 weeks. 27,000 people killed. That war should end.
Yeah, and the sad thing is that the war needs to end, but everybody has to deal with the reality that, well, Russia won the war pretty much, and that Russia's going to get everything they ever wanted. But, we kind of got to slow roll everybody into that because everybody's having, well, Putin derangement syndrome. And you know what? I mean, rightfully so. I mean, he's not our friend, I'll tell you that. But in terms of this war, it's probably best that we just end it. And I mean, if we're not willing to put boots on the ground to take that land back for Ukraine, then I think we might want to just shut up and just let things fall where they fall.
President, just for clarity, if there, on the Venezuela boat strike, if there were a second strike that killed wounded people, even in the first strike, were you thinking that would be legal?
I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So I'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine. And if there were two,
Yeah, because the second strike would be a war crime. Like, you can't really just kill. Well, I would say this: even if they were combatants or they were non-lethal combatants. So at that time, you blew them up into the ocean and they're just over there swimming. I mean, what else could they possibly do at that point? And whatever weapons they had, you blew to smithereens. So what was the point of the second strike? So that would be considered a war crime.
people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make you?
And that's why the president and Pete Hegseth is denying this to high heaven.
I have great confidence.
You saying there's no second strike?
I don't know. I'm going to find out about it, but Pete said he did not order the death of those two men.
Do you have any concerns about how those boat strikes have been carried out at all?
Very little, because you can see the boats, you can see the drugs in the boats, and each boat is responsible for killing 25,000 Americans. So, and they're doing an amazing job. And we're getting, you just look at the numbers, the amount of drugs coming into our country by sea is infinitesimal compared to what it was just a few months ago. And each boat, think of this, each boat on average is responsible for the death of 25,000 Americans.
On immigration, your administration made a lot of moves throughout the last few days after we know that an Afghan national is the suspected shooter of this National Guardsman.
People that shouldn't be in our country this year.
So you announced that asylum.
And that includes Somalians and it includes plenty of others.
How long does your administration plan to pause asylum into the U.S.?
I think a long time.
Can you give any
We
kind of time?
We don't want those people. We have enough problems. We don't want those people.
Is that a year, 2 years?
No time limit.
And then
But it could be a long time.
You said that.
We don't want those people. You understand that?
I understand.
You understand that?
I understand.
Who are you with?
I'm with News Nation.
News Nation. Great. Let me just say this. We don't want those people. Does that make sense? You know why we don't want them? Because many of them are no good and they shouldn't be in our country.
What do you mean by those people?
Yeah, those who came in here under immigration fraud, the TPS program. Yeah, I mean, that has been revoked. Go ahead and get them up out of here. As far as getting all the Somalians, all 80K of them out of Minnesota, I'm sorry, but that's highly unlikely.
The people from different countries that are not friendly to us and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other.
Yep.
And they come into our country and tell us how to run our country. We don't want them. You gotta talk up.
She said how many countries? Is there a list?
Well, I guess we gave you 19, right? Okay. There's probably more than that.
Is that what you mean when you mean third world countries, those 19?
No, I don't think they're all third world, but in many cases they are third world. They're not good countries. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. And we, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
When you talk about
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution. And yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
Which is funny, though, because I ran a poll on that. Did Ilhan Omar marry her brother? And out of 224 votes, 65% said yes, 35% said no. And I looked it up, guys, and there is no credible evidence that she married her brother. I mean, none at all. I know, I looked, bro. Trust me, and no evidence, none at all. All we know that she married some Somali guy before her husband she got now, and that's just that. I guess there was just some rumor going around that Somali guy was a family member or, her brother. Well, yep, no credible evidence, sadly.
Post you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find it a bit more retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it. Absolutely, sure.
Because you don't
Do you have a problem? You know what? I think there's something wrong with it. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
Mr. President, you said
Well, you ain't lying. It don't really function like a country. It's like, bro, a three-way battle for power in Somalia. And like, let's be honest, it is crazy out there. That's why a lot of them come over here. And here's the wild part about it. I mean, we're still active in Somalia till this very day. Till this day. Man, I mean, like, bro, when we send them back, let's make sure we never interfere with Somalia ever again.
Denaturalize some American citizens. Can you talk about?
You mean people that are in here that shouldn't be here?
That became Americans.
Well, we'll see. I mean, yeah, we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized maybe through a fight with somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize them. Absolutely.
What do you mean by
Do you have a question? Yeah?
What do you mean by reverse migration?
It means get people out that are in our country, get them out of here. I want to get them out. We got a lot of people in our country that shouldn't be here, and they came in through Biden, and he was the worst president in the history of our country. But the single biggest thing he did was allow millions of people into our country that shouldn't be here. Drug dealers, prisons were opened up and allowed to come into our country. You take a look at the people that were allowed to come into our country. We're paying a big price for it, and we will for years to come, including the recent killer of two wonderful National Guards people. And I'll tell you what, that animal should not have been allowed to come into our country. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, they said he was vetted, but well, now that the vetting has been looked into, they were just like, no, he wasn't really vetted. We just gave him the green light because he worked with the CIA for a little bit. You know, he worked with these zero unit groups. That was a paramilitary group that was carrying out night raids in Afghanistan on the Taliban. And like I said, sometimes innocent civilians. But the problem is that we never really checked his connections to, I guess, other terrorist cells or organizations or anything like that. We just said, well, you helped us fight against the Taliban, so you're okay with us. And I mean, look where that got us. Look where that got us. So I'm sorry, but it's not really effed up to say that all about what almost 90,000 that we lent in through that program has to get, you know, re-reviewed. Like, that's reasonable.
Thank you. I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you? They're devastated.
Can you give us an update on each of them?
Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us, and Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people, and they're praying, and they want everybody to pray for Andrew, and he has a chance to make it. But he is, I mean, his mother and father, they were so unbelievable. They were so positive. From West Virginia, great state. I spoke with Sarah's parents too. And the only thing I can say, they were devastated. They can't even believe it.
It's absolutely devastating to lose your children. Do you plan to bring the next troops to the White House?
Yeah, I do. I've already suggested it. I said, when you're ready, that's a tough thing. Come to the White House, we're going to honor Sarah. And likewise with Andrew, recover or not, we're going to honor you.
I do have one more question about Witkoff, because you mentioned, and this was asked previously, can you tell us what day Witkoff is going to meet with Putin? And then on that, is that
sometime next week?
Okay, you don't have that. Is it early next week, late next week?
Sometime next week.
And can you say on healthcare, because it's so hard to so many areas.
You know, one of the reasons that healthcare can work is because of what I just did with favored nations. You're going to have drug prices coming down 500, 600, 700% because of me. In other words, we're going to have the lowest drug prices, tied for the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world. It's called favored nations.
He got most favored nation pricing, and of course he got Pfizer and AstraZeneca to start manufacturing over here in America. So that's also going to bring down drug prices as well, just due to the fact that we're starting to manufacture it in America. So shout out to Trump on that one.
And you don't talk about it. It's probably the biggest thing to happen in medicine in the last 100 years.
Yeah, AstraZeneca new manufacturing campus is going to be in Maryland. Yes, in Maryland. So where? Frederick and Gallagherburg. Yeah, I don't know. So let's see, there's about a $2 billion multi-facility manufacturing campus, 60-acre new site. And let's see here, it's supposed to create about 200, not 200, about 2,600 jobs. Yes, 2,600 jobs. And that is AstraZeneca and what they're going to start and what they're going to bring to, well, America, or more specifically, Maryland.
And it
Good on Maryland.
Huge impact, positive impact on pricing for healthcare.
Are you any closer on that decision on picking a new Fed chair? Are you any closer?
And if you like the source, you can look this up on industryselect.com.
I know who I'm going to pick.
Tell me Kevin Hegseth.
I'm telling you, we'll be announcing it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This is a rocky flight. We're going to get out of here before something happens. They asked about my MRI. MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI records.
Will you tell us what it was
Governor
for?
Walz?
They're really poking at these MRIs, like, oh, he got a brain scan. You know something's wrong. Like, no, stop tripping, okay, guys. Let's wait for him to start acting like Biden. God forbid.
Good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for my tardiness. We had some technical difficulties, as you could see, but I think we are ready to rock. So let's get to it. I'll begin this week with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's very busy week ahead. Tomorrow, President Trump will host his 9th cabinet meeting of the year alongside his incredible cabinet, who continue to deliver for the American people at a record pace.
Oh, please. He's going to hold a cabinet meeting tomorrow? Oh, they're about to grill the hell out of Hegseth. I mean, bro, they're not even going to ask Trump questions. They're just going to grill Hegseth, because that's like what left-wing media is doing right now, just grilling Hegseth in the whole second strike.
Later in the afternoon tomorrow, the president will make an announcement in the Oval Office on his initiative to create Trump accounts to give the next generation of Americans a jump start on savings. It will be a very exciting announcement indeed, especially for all of the parents across the country with young children and babies. On Thursday, President Trump will host the president.
Shout out Jay. He says, poor chat having an allergic reaction to facts because of TDS. I know, like, I literally read out that there's going to be a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant built in Maryland, and they're like, lies. No, I'm like, hold on. Wouldn't you want something good to happen for America? And no, it's not a lie, but I'm just saying, like, well, why would you want to sit there and deny that something good's happening for us? Come on now.
Of the Republic of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to sign the historic peace and economic agreement that he brokered. On Thursday night, the president and the first lady will celebrate one of America's greatest traditions, the lighting of the national Christmas tree on the ellipse. And on Friday, President Trump will attend the FIFA World Cup final draw at the Kennedy Center. You all will be seeing and hearing from the president every day this week. So you have me today, and then he will take on the rest of the week himself. Next, I would like to address the horrific tragedy that took place in our nation's capital that last week. A foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet ambushed 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life.
Yeah, let's remember, both of them got shot in the head. And like I said, the young lady succumbed to her injuries, God rest her soul. And the young man, well, like I said, he's fighting for his life because, like I said, he sustained a bullet wound to the head.
Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents in their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America, 2 young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. Here are the facts. The terrorist who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House in an ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from.
Whoa. Actually, wait. No, actually, he was brought in through Operations Allies Welcome through a program where we let these guys in because they helped us fight the Taliban. Like, no, wait. Don't tell me she's about to sit here and give me. Whoa, no way. Go back.
Was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country.
Okay.
Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan.
No, the Afghan that shot the two National Guards, yeah, he came in through Operations Welcome Allies, and it was basically, like I said, it was because he got let in, about 90K of them that was so-called vetted properly. So they weren't the Afghans that rushed the plane. No, they weren't them. We're talking about a special group of them that actually helped the USA out when it came to fighting the Taliban. So it's a completely two separate groups of Afghanis. I mean, they all came in through immigration, but through two separate programs.
Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy. We continue to live with the deadly consequences of Joe Biden's horrific leadership. Nearly 100,000 Afghans were recklessly released into the United States with little to no vetting. There was no regard for the disorder.
Now that is true. I'm be honest with you. Yeah, like when we were leaving Afghanistan, a lot of Afghanistans rushed in that plane. A lot of them tried to hang on the wings and end up falling to their death, sadly. And we didn't really vet them. We just took whoever was willing to come with us because they didn't want to be there. And then there's the ones we brought over here properly, the ones that helped us fight the Taliban. And we just let them in because we're like, hey, yo, you helped us out. And that's how the guy who shot the National Guardsman and woman, like that's how he got here.
Violence that this would unleash on American communities and American culture. Reportedly, thousands of these strangers and unknown individuals were flagged to the Biden administration for national security, public safety, and fraud concerns. But the terrifying truth is that the Afghanistan debacle is just a small part of Democrats' complete and total betrayal of the American people during the Biden years. The tragedy that we just witnessed the day before Thanksgiving is a reminder that untold.
Look, I'm just gonna call it out. First off, she's wrong about how this guy got here, and second of all, it's just like we all got to admit the CIA background. I mean, yes, I mean the fact that he drove across country just to shoot two National Guardmen, yeah, everything is a bit weird. So just say this is flat out terrorism. I don't know why they're just sticking to this story without, releasing the facts yet. Hopefully they release some stuff to us because I need to see it. Because I'm sorry, but it just seems weird to just believe the narrative up front, especially if Caroline Levin is getting it wrong.
Thousands of terrorists, gang members, and criminals were invited into our country and remain here to this very day. The border is now secure, thanks to President Trump, but the threat in our interior remains real and urgent. These public safety threats are already inside our land. And
and here's a problem too. Like, I'm just being fair with this criticism. So yes, he was let in under Biden in 2021 for 4 years straight. I mean, I guess we have no criminal record, no nothing. The man got a wife. So 4 kids. In 2025, April of 2025, under the Trump administration, pretty much under his DHS, he was approved for naturalization. I mean, if any time, wouldn't that be a good time to start reviewing his past? And maybe we could have caught something then. But what happened then? Because we could sit there and blame Biden for letting him in. But then, let's be real. We had a second chance to catch him, and it was under Trump, and we missed it. How'd that go down? When they questioned Kristi Noem's on it, she kind of skirt the question.
Trump was elected on a promise to find and remove them, and he has already taken significant steps and made significant progress towards fulfilling this promise. But there is more work to be done because President Trump believes that he has a sacred obligation to reverse the calamity of mass, unchecked migration into our country. As a result, the Trump administration is now actively re-examining all of the Afghans imported into the country by Joe Biden. Any individual who threatens our national security,
which is reasonable to do so, because now we're discovering, and even people who were, I guess, privy to what was going on in the vetting process at that time, they were saying that, hey, yeah, we didn't really vet them too well. I mean, I think it was either Alexander Mayorkas that was also claiming that, yeah, we don't have the vetting records or any records that came back from Afghanistan about any of the people we let in. So we don't know their criminal history in Afghanistan or anything. I mean, to trust the Taliban to, probably give you something on a double agent, possibly. I mean, it's a bit wild, but I mean, we tried, didn't we? And now here we are having to review about 90,000 people we done let in, and reasonably so, because now we got to make sure we cross, we dot our I's and cross our T's and all that good stuff.
Or our citizenry will be subject to removal. President Trump has already permanently paused migration of foreign nationals from third world countries that pose a very high risk to the United States. For too long, past American presidents supported self-destructive immigration policies that allowed foreigners who outright hate our country and have no interest in assimilating into our culture. They've allowed these individuals to flood peaceful American communities. This disastrous approach has drained our welfare program, driven up the cost of housing, suppressed wages, and jeopardized the safety of law-abiding American citizens. In fact, according to a new bombshell report from the New York Times, Somalian migrants in Minnesota have defrauded nearly $1 billion in taxpayer-funded benefits under Democrat Governor Walz's leadership. President Trump is putting an end to this dangerous America Last approach. His position is rooted in common sense. In the wake of last week's atrocity, it is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. They must go back to their home countries.
I mean, all of them? All of them. Now, first off, ain't no way y'all gonna get that off. The Dems is gonna fight y'all tooth and nail, sadly. Even if I was with it, I'm be real with you, the Dems are going to be fight y'all tooth and nail. What you guys can do is catch the ones who's committing fraud and send them all away. I mean, you can revoke the TPS and you revoke the TPS status and send those guys away. But what we can't do is sit there and just take a small group and just say all of y'all got to go now. Because, I mean, like, bro, why not just do that? Then we'd have to do that to the Hispanic community, the Haitian community. I mean, we just got to go across the board with it then.
It is also essential to immediately address the massive fraud and corruption that has been going on for decades in other aspects of our immigration system, most notably when it comes to asylum claims. Millions of people who have come here under false pretenses are told blatant lies now enjoy temporary legal status. President Trump is ending this scam as well. And I would point out that the Democrats have tried to block this administration from doing so at every turn with lawsuit after lawsuit. The hard truth.
Yeah, shout out to Trump for like taking out that temporary protective status, because that was literally abusing the asylum seeking claim and all that. And then all the countries that he allowed in was absolutely insane. I mean, he was shipping him in by the, well, I wouldn't say boatload, but literally by the airplane load. However much you can fit on an airplane, that's how much he was shipping them in by.
Is that even when it comes to our legal immigration system, past presidents have failed to ensure that all prospective citizens love America, will add value and contribute to our communities, and will assimilate into our culture. Leaders have a duty to defend and advance the interests of their own people, not foreign nationals. Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. That is why President Trump is more committed than ever to fully restoring American sovereignty by keeping our borders secure, removing all illegal alien invaders, and rebuilding a legal immigration system that makes sense and benefits our country. President Trump has no higher responsibility than to defend our homeland and our people, and he will never waver in doing so. With that, I will open it up to questions, and we'll lead today with Isabel Brown, who is in our new media seat. She's a very popular face on television these days. She's built a great independent media podcast and platform with the Daily Wire, and I appreciate your being here, Isabel. Thank you,
Caroline. Appreciate it and appreciate the briefing. Many Americans, in light of these recent events that you just mentioned, are starting to say that we are being invaded as a country, culturally and logistically, when it comes to immigration. And we know that immigration without assimilation is indeed invasion. So given the recent remarks from Vice President Vance on a college campus about dramatically reducing legal immigration to address some of this crisis, and President Trump's Truth Social post last week about individuals who may be non-compatible with Western civilization, are there any conversations happening or plans being made behind the scenes for the administration to implement at least a temporary immigration moratorium, for example, in light of what the American people might be calling for?
So, Isabel, it's a great question. I think I spoke a little bit to the heart of your question in my opener there. I would add that the Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history. And I'll just walk you through some of the actions that we have taken thus far. Number one, the Trump administration issued a travel ban for 19 countries, including Afghanistan, special immigrant visas, which is a legal pathway to get here, which we know many Afghans have utilized to come into the country, have now been paused since the tragic shooting last week. Refugee admissions were...
Hey, and shout out to my man Garcia for the hot cocoa for 600 joules, and appreciate that because it is cold outside.
Suspended for Afghans from this administration on day one, and refugee admissions into the country right now are essentially at zero, with the exception of Afrikaners fleeing persecution in South Africa. The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas and have revoked visas, as you know, for those who do not align with our country's national interests. The Secretary of State has the right to do that, and we've taken unprecedented action to do just that. We are also now pausing all asylum adjudications for additional vetting as well. And so additional actions I don't have to read out for you today, but I would just remark that the president has made tremendous progress on this front. And it's why it's so crucial that we not only secure the...
Look, guys, we're not trying to say only white immigrants. We're just trying to say we only like the immigrants that are willing to, you know, kiss the ground of U.S. soil and bend their knee to the U.S. That's it. I mean, assimilate, love the country, learn proper English, and it's all good, bro. It's all good. We're not even asking for that much. Like, bro, really think what we're asking for here. We're just asking for proper assimilation. If y'all do that, it's all good. If not, then I mean, you can go back to your country and you'll fit right in.
Orders, which the president did in record time. We have zero illegal aliens entering into the country month after month. But we also are taking a look at those who are already in the interior of our country and removing them if they are here illegally, and also taking a look at these visas. Again, having a visa in the United States is not a right, it is a privilege. And the Secretary of State, if you are deemed contrary to our country's foreign national interests, has the right to revoke that privilege. Thank you. Gabe.
Caroline, excuse me, regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, the reported second strike on an alleged drug vote on September 2nd, the secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Gabe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd,
because they've been designated terrorists. Like, we get that. We do get that. But I mean, if we're talking about non-lethal combatants, like I said, there was a time you guys arrested survivors before and sent them, you know, home. So what was different about this time? I mean, if y'all better maybe release the identities of these guys, and like maybe they were head cartel bosses just out there, you know, taking a risk out on the water, which is highly unlikely. But you know, you got to give us something here.
Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration,
I mean, yeah, once they were like designated as a terrorist group, they were kind of greenlit for airstrikes and almost any type of strike. Like the way we do the Houthis in Yemen, we can pretty much do the cartel now. And now, as far as land strikes go, we'll see what happens with that. But it sounds like Trump is even trying to take it there as well. So we'll see. But in the meantime, them cartel boats.
there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last. And it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
So to be clear, to clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
And a separate question, the president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug trafficker. And yesterday on Air Force One, the president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. How is that different than what the administration is accusing Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro?
I ain't gonna lie, man. We need to go ahead and bring that guy Adam Bradley front and center. I mean, like, all right, bro, you're the one who ordered the strike. Why? Like, why did you take those two non-lethal combatants out? And I mean, if that's how you guys are behaving, I mean, why didn't you take out the last two guys like that? Why'd you just bring them home? Like I said, man, there needs to be, hey, man, questions got to be answered eventually.
Cherry picking the president's statement a little bit yesterday, as he also said yesterday, the people of Honduras have highlighted to him how the former president Hernandez was set up. This was a clear Biden over prosecution. He was the president of this country. He was in the opposition party. He was opposed.
Oh, and to downplay I ain't gonna lie, I do hate when the left try to downplay Venezuela's cartel value as if there isn't other drugs they can be transporting. I mean, it could be heroin, cocaine. It doesn't just have to be fentanyl. Shoot, it also could be, I don't know, like women, children. You know that they smuggle a lot more than just fentanyl. I hope you know that. So the value to the Venezuela's value to the cartel is like damn near limitless.
To the values of the previous administration, and they charged him because he was president of Honduras. There were some other egregious facts that came out during this trial, and I would encourage you to report on them. His court-appointed lawyer was only given 3 weeks to prepare for trial. He shared that his conviction was lawfare by the leftist party, who, quote, struck a deal with the Biden-Harris administration. Hernandez has highlighted there was virtually no independent evidence presented, and many of his conviction was based on testimony from many admitted criminals who hoped that cooperating would reduce their own penalties. So the president heard the concerns from many people, as he does, and he's, of course, within his constitutional authority to sign clemency.
Yeah, because during that man's presidency, or the ex-Hondurian president's presidency, he was actually going after the cartel. And he was stepping up law enforcement. He was actually putting the military on the cartel. And, of course, cutting off foreign investment, like China and what they would send to the cartel, like the fentanyl precursors. He was kind of stopping that, and they got him out the way. I mean, the Biden administration kind of helped him, sadly.
For whomever he deems worthy of that. Jack.
Allegedly, though.
Thank you, Caroline. Following up on Gabe's question, you said that the follow-up strike was lawful. What law is it that allows no survivors?
The strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States.
Yeah, unless they were like key targets, or unless they were key targets, they need to start explaining. She got a good one, unless they can say, yeah, they're these key targets. This is it right here. This is why we just couldn't let them survive. They were key assets to the cartel. And it was a golden moment, so we took him out. I mean, I could get down with that, but yeah, you're gonna have to release that and tell everybody like the value of those targets. And if the value of those targets are not high up, then it's not gonna look too good. Shout out to my man Parabolic Curvature. He says, would it matter if they release the names? They have already designated them as a terrorist group. Anything said after will be disbelieved by MAGA. Look no further than Albrego Garcia. It's the same. God damn it. Well, welcome back, my brother. But this is a little bit different. Come on, bro. It's a little bit different than Albrego Garcia. Like, let's be honest here. It's like we kind of do got to know their names, especially if there was like a. Because think about it, we bombed boats before and there were survivors, and we let them go. So, what was so special about now? Like, were these high value targets or something, or what?
Interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
And then on this pardon for the Honduran president, doesn't it all undercut the administration's messaging while you have these congressional Republicans defending the strikes on the narco terrorists and then a pardon for a convicted drug trafficker? Does that make it more difficult for your members to defend your administration's policy?
I don't think so, Jackie. I think that President Trump has been quite clear in his defense of the United States homeland to stop these illegal narcotics from coming to our borders, whether that's by land or by sea. And he's also made it quite clear that he wants to correct the wrongs of the weaponized Justice Department under the previous administration. And Ouija, I'll call on you because I think we're wearing matching blazers today.
I was going to
great minds.
Yours. Thank you, Caroline. Sure. So just to be clear, to clarify on Jackie and Gabe, did Admiral Bradley order that second strike because there were still survivors after the initial strike?
Again, as I read for you, Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law. He directed the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat of narco terrorists to the United States was completely eliminated.
So was the initial order from Secretary Hegseth, everyone be killed, and did that come from President Trump?
I saw that quoted in a Washington Post story. I would reject that the Secretary of War ever said that. However, the president has made it quite clear that if narco terrorists, again, are trafficking illegal drugs towards the United States, he has the authority to kill them. And that's what this administration is doing.
And can I
Danny?
follow up on the MRI? Because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI. Is that happening right now?
It is happening right now. As part of, and this is
yeah, they came back and, well, everything's all good. Trump doesn't have any brain problems. Dems, get over yourselves.
A summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. No evidence of arterial narrowing impairing blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size, the vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. Again, we will provide that to you. I think that's quite a bit of detail, and in the effort of transparency, the president promised it last night, and we have delivered today. So there you go. Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Just going back to Venezuela, can you confirm that President Trump is going to be hosting a meeting of his national security team in the Oval Office today on Venezuela? And what are they going to discuss? Are they hoping to reach a kind of final decision on that?
Out of the effort of transparency, I will.
Yeah, since Trump kind of closed down the airspace, that put everybody on, well, high alert. And, you know, they're thinking that, oh, well, Trump's positioning to start striking Venezuela, when no, this could all be like scare tactics to either make Maduro give up more or to actually push him out of Venezuela and, he goes somewhere else. I mean, maybe go to a country like China where he was also friendly with. So, yeah, that's what they're trying to do there. You're either going to, try to scare him out because, to be quite honest with you, that's the only options. They're honestly scare him out or just take whatever he's willing to give us. And he's trying to give us a lot for some reason. So Maduro don't want to get out of power, and he's willing to work with the Trump administration, but the Trump administration doesn't really want to work with Maduro's, and that's what it's working out to. So they're trying to force him out, and I don't believe he's going to strike Venezuela, God forbid, but you never know. But I don't believe he's going to strike it because there's no way to get a bloodless regime change. Like, we're going to have to actually fight Venezuela if we do strike them.
Confirm that the president will be meeting with his national security team on this subject and on many.
And no, it's not going to be the cakewalk that Lindsey Graham always says that it would be. I mean, no, it's not going to be a cakewalk.
Matters. He meets with his national security team quite often. He's the commander in chief. It's part of his responsibility to ensure that peace is ongoing throughout the world. I'm definitely not going to detail the specifics of a meeting between the president and his national security team that's taking place in the Oval Office, but I'm happy to confirm that meeting is taking place for you.
Can you tell us, what's the position on whether U.S. troops on the ground?
Hey, and shout out to my man Jet. Where was the Dems at nitpicking Obama's drone program? I mean, man, look, bro, it was hey, they closed their eyes on that one. They just looked away completely. They was like, yeah, wait, drone strikes? What you talking about? I don't know about no drone strikes, but hey, Trump starts striking cartel members or start striking narcos and everybody's losing their ish. But you're right. When we start bringing up Obama's drone strikes, they don't really know what to say. But hey, they'll say, oh, don't worry about Obama. Let's focus about today. And that is a reasonable argument because it is a bit of a problem. Like, all right, let's be real. Now we're going to need a little bit more information on why that second strike was commenced. They're saying Admiral Bradley was well within his ordering or well within his power to order that strike. So it's sounding like it is what it is, and we'll just leave it up to the military type of situation. Basically, it's the military telling us to mind our damn business. And maybe we should. Maybe. But I'm curious. I'm a curious guy, so I would like more information.
Possibility there is that. I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative
in Venezuela? I think my previous answer stands. There's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table, and I'll let him speak on those. Ed.
The U.S. announced a trade framework deal with the United Kingdom on pharmaceuticals, where they will pay 25% more, and the savings theoretically will go back to American consumers. What guarantees are in that savings will in fact go back to the American consumer and not be sucked up by the company?
I'm going to be honest with you, Ed. I'll get you the answer to that question after the briefing.
So the American Rescue Plan, sure. Funded a number of universal income.
Kush will get you that answer, right, Kush? My trade guy over here.
The American Rescue Plan funded a number of universal basic income programs. Now, Cook County, Illinois, is extending that program into 2026 with $7.5 million of taxpayer money. What does the White House think about that?
I'll also get you an answer on that after the briefing.
Over to.
Go ahead. Sure.
And then in the interest of transparency, does the White House support releasing the Department of Defense's video of those September 2nd strikes on those military boats? And also, separate topic on presidential pardon power. Why did the president commute the sentence of David?
Oh no, Link, you're right. No, you're right. There definitely was like heavy criticism of Obama, but let's be real though. Was it taken to the limit to where it would be taken with Trump? Like, let's be real. If Trump actually did what Obama did, it'd be rounds for impeachment. But there was really no impeachment brought up against Obama. It wasn't really made that big of a deal. So yeah, he was criticized. Everybody didn't like it, but let's be real. The man was basically untouchable when it came to that. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, yes, there was critics, but not everybody really made a big deal of it. And trust me, not like how y'all make a big deal about Trump doing it. Like, I wasn't calling for impeachment. I know that.
Gentile recently, he's a private equity executive. He served 12 days out of a 7-year sentence. Prosecutor said he defrauded $1.6 billion.
It's kind of like that one, Virginia from AG, the guy who was wishing death on children. It's kind of like, you guys condemned it, but you didn't make him step down. I mean, that's what you guys kind of do. It's like, well, you condemn it, but there's really no consequences.
Dollars with thousands of victims, including veterans, farmers, teachers. Why was he pardoned?
To your first question, that's definitely not a decision for me to make. I would defer you to the Department of War. It's also probably a decision for the president himself to make. As for your second question with respect to that pardon, he issued a commutation for Mr. Gentile, who's the former CEO and co-founder of GBP Capital Holdings. Unlike similar companies, GBP paid regular annualized distributions to its investors. In 2015, GBP disclosed to investors the possibility of using investor capital to pay some of these distributions rather than funding them from current operations. Even though this was disclosed to investors, the Biden Department of Justice claimed it was a Ponzi scheme. This claim was profoundly undercut by the fact that GBP had explicitly told investors what would happen. At trial, the government was unable to tie any supposedly fraudulent representations to Mr. Gentile. In short, again, this is another example that has been brought to the president's attention of a weaponization of justice from the previous administration, and therefore he signed this commutation.
So say that these people were defrauded.
I just read you a very detailed summary of why the commutation was made.
I'm weak.
Sure. In the middle with the red tie.
Thank you, Caroline.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead, and then you.
In wake of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor
Go ahead,
Greene's early resignation, reports last week indicated that other House Republicans might consider doing the same. Does the president have any concerns in light of those reports about other House Republicans potentially leaving early, as well as the other announced retirements that we saw in the last couple of days?
Look, I think the president maintains very good relationships with the vast majority, maybe with the exception of one or two. I think many in this room know who I'm referring to. Very good relationships with members of Capitol Hill within the Republican Party. And the president clearly is the unequivocal leader of the Republican Party. I think it was a recent CNN poll that actually showed that more than 90% of Republicans continue to support President Trump as the leader. So he maintains very good relations, as does his entire team here at the White House. And of course, we have a very slim margin in the House, and the president wants that to continue. Andrew, go ahead.
Sure.
First, on the Venezuela strike, you said that that second strike was in full accordance with the law of armed conflict, but the Navy's own manual of law of war says that specifically firing on survivors from a wrecked vessel is an example of a war crime that's forbidden under U.S. law and the law of armed conflict. So how was that second strike in following law of armed conflict in that second operation?
Again, Andrew, I would reiterate to you the strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict. And since somebody asked about Congress, and it's sort of related.
All right, now shout out to my man Parabolic. He says the former Honduran president was investigated as far back as 2004, but that was Bush, and he was arrested in 2018. Wrong, my friend, wrong. And he said, remind me who was the president then, but in 2018, that was Trump. But no, actually, former Honduran president Juan Orlando Hernandez was convicted on March 8th, 2024 in federal court in New York on drug trafficking and weapon conspiracy charges after a 3-week trial. So, yeah. It was Joe Biden. Joe Biden was still president. So in March and in June of 2024, Joe Biden was still president, and he was sentenced to 45 years. Both happened during the Biden administration. So, I mean, conviction and sentencing both happened under the Biden administration. And look it up. No, it's my man Juan Orlando Hernandez.
To Venezuela, I also want to add that Secretary Hegseth spoke with members of Congress who may have expressed some concerns over the weekend. And there have also been 13 bipartisan briefings to Congress on the Venezuelan strikes. There have been a number of document reviews for members of Congress to review the classified DOJ Office of Legal Counsel opinion and other related documents. 29 senators and 92 representatives have reviewed those documents.
I mean, you may have got the name wrong, my friend. I'm real with you. Parabolic curvature. He says, so the DEA release in 2008 is wrong. I believe so. It's wrong because almost every source I'm looking at is telling me like 2004. Everything. I mean, everything is telling me convicted on in March in 2024. I mean, and we're talking about the same guy, right? Like maybe you're looking at a different president. Maybe I don't know. But we're talking about the ex-Honduran president, that Juan Orlando Hernandez, then yeah, it's 2024.
Which is about 2/3 of those are Democrat members, and they have been made available to all 100 senators, all 435 members of the House, and to general counsels of the relevant committees on a bipartisan basis for their review.
On immigration, during your topper, you said, and I quote, "Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity."
Yeah, just double check. Yeah, Hernandez trial began on February 21st of 2024 in New York City and concluded on March 8th. And yeah, he was found guilty. So yeah, it was 2024. I don't know where that DA document came from, but it was not factual.
Can you explain what you mean by our nation's national identity and integrity and character, and how would refugees, people coming from war-torn places who are seeking a safe haven in America, like many of our forebears in this room, not add to our nation's integrity and character of our national identity?
I'll tell you what does not add to our nation's character and integrity is refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution, and then come to the United States to.
You said check political discussion in Discord. All right, cool. I got to look at that, because I'm like, bro, he was even extradited in April 2022 under Biden. So his extradition, trial, conviction, sentencing all happened under Biden. All of it.
Abuse our system and rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya. Another scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state.
Okay, I got you, dog. All right, this is where you got the confusion. You got the wrong guy. Yes, I mean, you got the wrong guy, my friend. So the DA document he's talking about is this one right here, right? And we're talking about Antonio Orlando Hernandez, right? Orlando. This is Juan Orlando Hernandez. This is Juan Antonio Hernandez, who was charged in Manhattan federal court for drug trafficking, on November 23rd, 2018. Yes, and this is Juan Hernandez, and this is, what was it? Hernandez is the brother of the current president of Hernandez, Juan Orlando Hernandez. So yes, you got his brother, not the actual, guy we're talking about right now, who's Orlando. Yeah, you got Antonio, but not Orlando. We talking about our man Orlando over here. So shout out to Orlando. But yeah. And all right, now let's go ahead and get over to the nice looking white lady over here. There we go.
State where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded.
No, that's an honest mistake. I could honestly see how you made that mistake, because even if you Googled it, I don't even think Google would have caught that for you.
Tax-paying Americans, and this president is not going to put up with it anymore. Rachel.
Thank you, Caroline. Just to follow back up on the Washington Post reporting, so much of the concern from Democrats and Republicans is focused on the survivors. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny or reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike? And what imminent threat would two survivors pose who were clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I said, I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists.
Now that is actually a really good question. I'm not even gonna lie. That is a really good question, big dog. Because that's actually a really good question. I'll give you that one. It's like, so his brother got convicted of this, and you're telling me he's innocent? I don't know. Maybe his brother might get a pardon next. You never know.
To the United States was eliminated.
To be continued.
And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for these.
Just to follow up, Caroline, just on the administration's policy when it comes to survivors, was there a change in policy after this strike on September 2nd? The Washington Post is reporting that these 2 survivors were killed after a second strike, but then in October, 2 people were rescued and returned to Colombia and Ecuador. So was there a decision that was made to handle survivors differently after these strikes?
Not to my knowledge, no. Steve.
The president confirmed that he spoke to the Venezuelan leader. Are you trying to negotiate his departure? Is there an asylum deal under works?
President, as you know, last night on Air Force One, he said, I don't want to comment on that, but I did speak to him in the effort of transparency. So there you go. You got your confirmation. I'll let him speak further if he wishes to on the details of that conversation that took place.
Steve Witkoff is headed to Moscow. How close are you to some sort of Ukraine agreement?
I think the administration feels very optimistic. Obviously, you've seen, Steve, that the president's entire team, including Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio and the vice president and the president himself, Secretary Hegseth as well, have been working so hard on this effort. And they...
Oh, and shout out Mountain Man Axis. So appreciate the support. You send in a flower for 30 joules. Appreciate that.
All really want to see this war come to an end. And so just yesterday, Sunday, I believe that was yesterday, they had very good talks with the Ukrainians in Florida. And now, of course, Special Envoy Witkoff is on his way to Russia. This is sort of the shuttle diplomacy that you've seen from this administration play out, where we speak equally with both sides. We've put points on paper. Those points have been very much refined. But as for the details, I will let the negotiators negotiate. But we do feel quite good. And we're hopeful that this war can finally come to an end.
Yeah, it's going to come to an end, but it's not going to come to the end to the satisfaction of the pro-Ukrainian guys. It's not going to come to the satisfaction of the libs because they're just going to poke holes in it. And they're just going to say that, well, Trump just, gave out to Russia. He just shielded for Russia. No, not really. Like I said, all the cards Trump could have had, all the leverage he had was based on the performance of Ukraine. And Ukraine didn't perform so well, so this is where we're at with it. Sadly, Ukraine might have to concede land. Actually, about 10 to 20% of Ukraine, honestly, used to be Ukraine, is about to be de facto Russia. De facto, aka that means they can't take it back, and the whole world is about to recognize it. Now, is this final? No, but it's looking like it's headed in that direction since the 28-point plan peace deal came out. And shout out to my man Jet. He says, now say it with me. Say it with me. Famous Biden family frame job. Yeah, I can do that.
Steven.
Hold on. Shout out to my man Nate. And shout out to the supporters. Appreciate the support, guys. Believe we are, let me make sure right here. Do it real quick. 69 away.
I got a question about Ukraine and then a clarification about immigration changes that are happening. On Ukraine, President Trump very briefly yesterday said that corruption issues there were not helpful to the peace process following the resignation on Friday of President Zelensky's top aide, Andrei Yermak. We were told from your podium in the prior administration that, quote, there is no indication that there's been any kind of widespread corruption involving U.S. resources in Ukraine. What is the Trump administration's view of corruption issues in the wake of Yermak's resignation? And how is that impacting peace talks?
Well, look, I think the president has made it quite clear, as he said last night, corruption is never helpful. And he does not want to see American tax dollars taken advantage of, which is why he has stopped the endless checks that were being written by the previous administration to fund this war. The United States is selling weapons to NATO.
Oh, guys, let's make sure you double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people on this conversation by double tapping that screen, and go ahead and hit that icon at the top to subscribe to the channel, guys. Appreciate the support.
NATO that are being sent to Ukraine, that's a very different thing than the American people writing blank checks to a war effort very far away. It does not degrade the administration's determination to see this war come to an end, but I think it exemplifies the president's desire to always put the American people and the American taxpayer first.
On immigration, you mentioned, or you emphasized that there would be a review of the Afghans who were resettled here under the previous administration.
Yes.
There's a lot of changes happening right now to asylum and to green card holders. What should the 2 million people with pending asylum claims, or the roughly million people from the 18 other countries of concern, know about what's going on in the review? What's the status of all these other people?
They're essentially paused for review, and the Department of Homeland Security is taking this very seriously, because we are not going to allow soldiers like we saw in American streets last week to be gunned down at the hands of these foreign nationals who had the privilege of coming to the United States of America. And unfortunately, this is not the only example of a dangerous Afghan who was let in by Joe Biden, who went on to harm the American people. There was an Afghan national who was let into the country under the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, who shot and wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop. He was killed by return fire after declaring, quote, "I should have served with the explicitive Taliban." 2 Afghan nationals were given legal status by the Biden administration as well, who were arrested and prosecuted for plotting a terrorist attack.
I mean, yeah, there was also an Afghan arrested for planning to make his car into a bomb and blow up anybody who disagreed with the Afghanis being here. And I mean, I believe he was reported on TikTok. So yeah.
Oklahoma just before Election Day in 2024. We all remember that. They possessed hundreds of rounds of ammunition and had pledged their allegiance to ISIS. There was also an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list who was apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but then he was released into our country by the Biden administration. Again, let's just highlight the absurdity of that. Border Patrol apprehended a terrorist, and then the Biden administration, because of their lax policies, still allowed him to come into the United States of America. I think everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, does not want that individual living alongside you in your American neighborhood. And that individual was later arrested again after being allowed to live in the U.S. at large for over a year. Another one, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, was arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, was previously allowed to stay in the country by the Biden administration. I have several more examples here. I'm happy to provide them to anyone in this room. John.
Thank you, Caroline. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to
Thank you
and your young family. Hope you enjoyed it. I have 2 questions unrelated. The first, back to Afghanistan. My son and I walked by the horrific shooting less than 1 hour.
Honestly, I would have asked her this. I'm like, I don't know, just to make sure, Caroline. I would have to ask her this. You mean all the Afghanistans over here is like that? Are you trying to say that all of them are? Because I ain't gonna lie, the language you're using right now, you know, it's a little wild. But I like where you're going. Of course, we need to review them, but like I said, let's not throw all of them under the bus, because even the military guys is not really liking the language, but. It is what it is. Well, actually, I'm not all of the military guys. Trust me. Some of them, a lot of them like where this is going. It's a little split. But the ones who actually work with these Afghanistans or these Afghanis in fighting the Taliban, well, yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of our servicemen actually vouch for some of these guys to come over here. So we can't sit there and throw all of them under a bus, especially when some of them got the thumbs up by some of our servicemen. Not all of them, but some.
Before it happened. So for anybody that's here, this thing's real. You outlined all of these unvetted Afghans that were let in by Biden. We just had one the other day that was going to blow up a DHS building. Can you be specific on what the Trump administration is doing now to re-vet those that are here so that we don't get a repeat of what we had Wednesday night?
Sure. I can tell you 2 top-level things, and I would defer you to DHS for more of the specifics, as of course they are leading this effort. And I can assure you Secretary Noem is on the ball. I've spoken with her and her team, and they have an all-hands-on-deck effort to having resources go towards this. But we have paused all asylum adjudications. And then, of course, the special immigrant visas, which we know many Afghans utilize to come into the country under the Biden administration, have also.
It's like, shout out Parabolic Curvature. He says, Caroline has been hanging out with Stephen Miller. Like, well, like I said, I just don't get. Well, you know what? I haven't heard too much crazy. No, I need to start listening to Stephen Miller more. Maybe I haven't heard too much crazy stuff come out of his mouth. But I'm be real with you. This is how the entire Trump administration is talking right now about, I guess, this entire community of Afghanis, Somalians. I'm just like, dang. So we're just gonna, I don't know, like throw the whole group under a bus. I'm all about getting the fraudsters and the illegals. I'm all about getting those guys out and the TPS guys. I'm all about revoking that as well. But to throw the whole community under the bus, I'm like, come on now, that ain't fair.
Now been paused.
That ain't
And
right.
I would just point out one more time that the Biden administration was responsible for the original sin that led to this tragic killing last week, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was responsible for Operation Allies Welcome, which is something that this White House and the people behind this podium in the last administration fully and wholeheartedly embraced. And they assured the American people there would be no risk or no harm to them. And as I just laid out for you in those many examples, that unfortunately and tragically has not turned out to be the truth. Just ask the families of these two brave National Guardsmen, one who is no longer with us and one who continues to fight for his life. So I know the president is wholeheartedly focused on this effort. And I think, unfortunately, these events do remind us why it's so important that the president's mass deportation operation continues. With that,
follow up. The White House today launched a new fake news portal, which I found interesting. What is your objective with that ultimately? And are you going to name the news networks? And are you also going to name some of the correspondents, some which may be here today?
Yes,
I'm done.
We are. I'm glad you
Wow.
noticed. Much to the dismay of some of your colleagues in the room, John. And I think it goes to our original promise on day one to hold the media accountable, because unfortunately, and we deal with this all day, every day around here, there are so many fake stories that are unfortunately written that have inaccurate characterizations of meetings that took place. And it's all based on anonymous sourcing. And
You know, our fraud schemes that lead to nowhere, that lead to just some business and what was it? In somebody's district or somebody's state that has no connections to that person at all. But, you know, we're just going to say it's that person, Kristi Noem. And what I'm talking about is how they pretty much try to say Kristi Noem was taking, kickback from ad revenue from one of her shell companies that we can't trace to her. But yes, they wrote a whole article about it, headline and all, got everybody out here thinking Kristi Noem is out here getting kickbacks when the company that's getting kickbacks is just in her state, and we don't know, and nobody's really linked to it. So we don't know if it's Kristi Noem's or not. I know, right?
The standard for journalism, unfortunately, has dropped to such a historic low in this country. And again, we deal with it every day, where you can have an anonymous source who has no idea what they're talking about, zero credibility, call up a reporter in Washington and say, hey, I heard this. And then the next thing you know, it's on the front page of the New York Times. It's really incomprehensible. We appreciate the journalists, some of those who are in this room who do reach out for comment, who try to get things right. And there are some that remain. But overwhelmingly, the fake news that we see pumped out of this building on a day-to-day basis, it's honestly overwhelming to keep up with it all and to constantly have to defend against these fake news and these attacks. And I will point out one fake news story over the weekend before I let you all go, from the New York Times that took about 1/3 of the president's daily calendar and his daily schedule and said that he's doing less than he did in his first term, or he might not be fit for the job. That is unequivocally false. And it's deeply unfortunate that this story was written by the same outlet and the same.
Well, it's false because it's too early to call. I mean, that is a bit childish. I mean, it's not compared to like his first term and all this. I'm like, whoa. Can we wait till the second term ends before we start throwing up the comparison? Can we compare 4 years to 4 years and make a fair comparison? Or y'all really about to compare 4 years to 10 months? Like, come on now. Let's not be childish. But all right, now let's go ahead and start off on the right side of media with Fox News, and then we're going to make it over to the left. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it with our guy, Jesse Waters.
Jesus, that's the narco. Fox News alert, it is Judgment Day. Sources say Maduro's been praying to Jesus. That's the narco-terrorist, socialist dictator who took over for Hugo Chavez in Venezuela and keeps flooding American streets with migrants, gangs, and cocaine.
And shout out to my man, Parabolic Curvature. What was the Trump pullout plan after he gave the date for the pullout of Afghanistan? Look, The problem is that was up to Biden. It happened under Biden. Biden said he can do it better than Trump, and he failed. And report shows that Trump actually called off the plan once they said, oh, yeah, once we back out of there, the Taliban just going to take over. Trump called it off. Biden said, no, we about to put it into a go. So you can't even really blame Trump, because even Trump realized it was a bad plan. Even though he said it, he realized it was a bad plan. He had to keep him in there. And he said, oh, well, we want to slow leak him out. And I'm not even sure if that was going to work, but it was a better plan than what Biden implemented. Maybe Biden should just, kind of waited off on that.
11 U.S. warships, including our largest carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, are now in the Caribbean. Venezuela is surrounded. The strike group is waiting on orders from the commander-in-chief as the president's holding high-level meetings at the White House, calculating our next move against the narco state. The choice is Maduro's. Trump's giving him an ultimatum: abdicate power or else. After Trump's phone call with the dictator, that's the best offer.
The New York Times reported that you had a phone call with Maduro. Did you?
I don't want to comment on it. The answer is yes.
And can you tell us a little bit
No,
about
I can't
it?
do that.
Would you say it went well?
I wouldn't say it went well or badly. It was a phone call.
This time, it wasn't a perfect phone call. The Venezuelan strongman reportedly asked for global amnesty. And Trump said, how about no? Then he said, what if I hold free and fair elections? Trump said, no, you already did that and you lost. Then he asked, if I step down, can I still control the military? 47 said, pack your bags. Even with a $50 million bounty on his head, Maduro.
And I've been hearing the same reports all over, that Maduro's been throwing everything at Trump, trying to offer everything. He just either wants to stay in power or, not be killed. But he's really trying to stay in power. It doesn't seem like the Trump administration is letting that stand. More than less is because the other leader is probably going to actually play with the Trump administration a bit better, let them have access to the oil. Well, they're going to now, this is a bit out there, but actually not a bit out there, but it has been proven that they would recognize Israel and all that good stuff, and they would be damn near, it's almost going to be like an Abraham Accords, except with the Latin America countries, as long as they accept Israel. And that's pretty much what it is, because, they're not really feeling too kindly about Venezuela working with Iran. So to shift away from Iran and turns towards America would be a very good start. Does it benefit us? Yes. Is it possibly starting problems in Latin America? For sure. It could get out of control. Oh, most definitely. But we're hoping we're not. But let's hope for the best. Or let's just hope that the man just runs off into the sunset. We never hear from him again. The lady comes in power and we just get everything we want, without having to go to war with Venezuela.
Maduro's maintained an iron grip on power by bribing his cronies with kickbacks from the coke, oil, and gold rackets. But this time, the narcos aren't calling shots anymore. Uncle Sam is, a.k.a. Trump. And the president's tightening the noose. In the last 24 hours, Trump declared the airspace above Venezuela entirely closed. Closing airspace can only mean one thing. This is escalating, and it's escalating quickly. The commander-in-chief isn't going to ratchet up the pressure, then walk away without a win. There's no way Maduro can face down the full force of a U.S. carrier strike group. The president is keeping his options open.
What's the position on whether U.S. troops on the ground is a possibility there? I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative
In Venezuela?
No
My
wars.
previous answer stands. There's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table.
Maduro's a sitting duck, and word on the street is he'll be out of.
Yeah, but if Maduro actually has the military behind him, it's not going to be easy. We're not just going to be able to strike these guys willy-nilly and just take out Maduro and think that the military is just going to roll over. And then whoever we do put in power, well, they're going to be set up to get, backstabbed, because I'm be real with you, regime change never works, and the people not going to like it because they're not going to feel like they really had a choice. If, we just forced that lady in there. Yes, she won the election, but I'm going to be honest with you, just to force her in there might build distrust among the citizens, just to be honest. And I know what you're saying, so we're just going to let him steal the election set? Well, hey, man, I did say we need to step out of foreign intervention. So, hey, it is what it is. It's their problem. Let them figure it out.
Power before Christmas. No one's bailing the socialist out. He's getting no love from his sponsors in Beijing and Moscow. Putin and Xi Jinping are at the table with Trump doing much bigger trade and diplomatic deals. They're not going to throw Maduro a lifeline and jeopardize the deals over a small fry in our backyard. And we're doing the Europeans a big favor. Venezuelan gangs have been trafficking boatloads of coke to West Africa, and the Africans have been pouring it into France and Germany. Maduro's isolated. According to UN investigators, he's guilty of crimes against humanity, torture, murder, sexual violence. He only got 20% of the vote last year, stole the election, and wouldn't leave. And he's unleashed migrants, gangs, and poison onto our shores. Chuck Schumer's backed military action in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, Yemen, and Ukraine. Schumer's basically down for whatever, whenever, no questions asked. But now that Trump's the president, he has questions.
Americans are right to wonder, what on earth is Donald Trump planning in Venezuela? Is Donald Trump nudging America into another war? Is he seeking regime change for Maduro? Will he put U.S. troops in harm's way? Nobody knows.
There's no way Trump's telling Schumer anything. Might as well tell Maduro. Schumer's old enough to know the war on drugs has been a 4-decade failure. And he knows that Trump didn't storm back into the White House just to repeat the failures of past presidents. The Secretary of the Navy gets it.
Drugs kill more Americans than we've ever lost in wars. So I think at the end of the day, the president has correctly identified this as an attack on the country, which it is.
The narco traffickers are on deliver or die missions. They're ferrying cargo through the Pacific and the Gulf of America. Some of these speedboats are...
Now, what are they, suicide bombers with bricks of cocaine, basically? Because, I mean, somebody did bring this up, and, I mean, it was a reasonable question. I mean, like, so if they know they're just going to, you know, just ship these boats out here, and they're just going to put millions of dollars of product on there just to get blown up, like, why would they keep doing this? Like, well, don't they know that they're just going to get blown up? Unless they're just doing this for funsies and they're just like using it as a form of execution, or I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's suicide delivery. Like, why? Like a new form of terror of suicide bombing is like you deliver it or die.
40 feet long and carry $70 million of contraband. Taking out these boats hit the cartels where it hurts, their bank accounts.
But I mean, let's be honest though. The way the cartel makes cocaine and all that good stuff, trust me, they do it for cheap. Like they do all this stuff for cheap. So what's millions of dollars of product was probably just a manufacturing cost, maybe like a couple hundred to them, and a little bit of slave labor.
Enforcing out Maduro sends a powerful signal to the Colombians, the Mexicans, and the Chinese. The Monroe Doctrine's back, and American deterrence is back. Venezuela is a launching pad for coke, and they're getting squeezed. The CIA is already on the ground there and have been authorized to give the president options. Operation Southern Spear is designed to defend the American homeland from drug warfare. And guess who has a problem with that?
If you want to understand if those are drug boats, who would go on those boats, it's people who have families that have been kidnapped. And they're told, go on the boats or we will execute your children.
I mean, bleeding heart argument, my G, but I mean, yeah, that could be one reason too, though, but you got to prove that. Just like you can't prove that, we can't even prove these are actually narcos. Or, I mean, the only people that do know is the CIA and the military. Those are the only two people that actually know what's going on. You don't know if that's a story, and I don't know. So I don't even know why you're over there trying to throw out that Academy Award-winning story right there, because I ain't gonna lie. That's like, hey, that's a tearjerker. You should make it a movie, my friend.
Where's he getting this from? Coke boats aren't being driven by hostages. The Wall Street Journal reports each boat is manned by 3 to 4 well-paid professionals, a pilot, a mechanic, a navigator, and a voucher man, someone who's trusted by the buyer and the seller. Now, someone's trying to sabotage U.S. operations, and the saboteurs are coming from within our own country. Over the weekend, the Washington Post accused the Secretary of War of committing war crimes. Hegseth order on first Caribbean boat strike, officials say, kill them all. The story goes something like this. U.S. Southern Command launched an airstrike against a coke boat. They saw that there were survivors and launched a second strike. So there were none. Pete calls it fake news. Quote, our current operations in the Caribbean are lawful under both U.S. and international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflict, and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command. Here's the White House.
Does the administration deny that that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law.
Lethal operations like this go through layers of lawyers.
I mean, it's funny how the spin is right now. So, of course, on the right, we're spinning it as, oh, these are just narco terrorists and all this. They're just the worst of the worst. And of course, the Dems, humanizing them a little bit, going like, no, they could be captured civilians and they're getting held at gunpoint. Now they're forced to go out there. You're just blowing them up. You blew up a father. And oh my God, I can't believe it. And it's, such a sad story and all that good stuff. But we don't know. So, I mean, calm all that down.
From the War Department, state, national security, everything goes up and down the chain of command and gets signed off on because we value life in America. The United States has conducted strikes all over the globe like this for decades. But for some reason, when President Trump does it, it's a crime.
I mean, but you got to admit, though, it's a very sad story. I mean, it pulls at your heartstrings, does it not? And shout out to Parabolic Curvature. He said the Doha was agreed to by Trump, and the earliest I could find for Trump official distancing from it is after May 2021. Biden was still dumb for trying. I mean, yeah. Hey, man. Hey, the road to evil is paved with good intentions, is it not? And shout out to my man Maine. Hey, happy to see you. He says, can't fish from a submarine. Changed my mind. No, literally, no. They said they were fishermen. It's like, I don't know. You sure about that? Like fishermen fishing with bricks of cocaine? Like what? Was the cocaine the bait? I mean, what? Were they planning on fishing and then dropping off the cocaine? Like either way, there was cocaine on the boat.
What law is it that allows no survivors?
The strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
When Barack Obama authorized lethal strikes against ISIS during the war on terror, and our operators launched a missile at a convoy of ISIS fighters, and the missile hit, boom, everyone's dead. Wait.
And what you guys got to understand is that, I don't know, a lot of people, they're not getting like down with the idea, or not even down with it, but you got to get down with the idea that Trump has designated these guys as a terrorist group. So now we can strike them at will. I mean, as long as we confirm that they are actually terrorists. I mean, let's be real. We've been doing this for a while. And you're right. When we do this type of stuff, sometimes innocent civilians do get caught up. I mean, if we want to like low-key bring up the guy who shot the 2 National Guardsmen, he was kind of going along with something like that, striking terrorist groups or the Taliban, and ended up actually killing innocent civilians sometimes. I mean, hey, this could be one of those situations, but we won't know until all the information come out. I'm not sitting there saying it's impossible for this to happen, but let's just wait for all the facts.
The smoke clears. You see one guy still hanging off the back of a Humvee, trying to get away. You double tap, boom, you finish the job. You're not going to send American men in to grab the surviving terrorist, put him in handcuffs, and take him to our base and give him a dinner and a doctor.
I mean,
this is no different. These cartel traffickers.
Now, like I said, the argument is that when they blew them up and the survivors were there, they were non-lethal combatants. And it's a war crime to pretty much kill non-lethal combatants. But here's the thing, is like, we're not really at war with Venezuela. I mean, we're kind of going after the cartel. We're targeting them as a terrorist group. So it kind of is what it is. Like, here's the thing. I guess we're kind of like mixing up things, or amalgamating things, or amalgamating certain situations with this one. Because, like, let's be real. Remember, terrorist organization. Like, they're allowed to get struck. Let's think about the Houthis and what happened with Yemen. And I mean, bro, civilians was killed in that too. They bombed the whole apartment building just to take out a couple members. So we got to remember how we act towards terrorists. Like, we kill them and damn near everybody around them. And do I agree with that? Not at all. But this is what the Trump administration has. Well, this is what the plan is: designate them as terrorist organizations so we can treat them as such.
Have been designated as foreign terrorists. We're blowing up terrorists in the Caribbean, but we're supposed to rescue them from drowning if they survive?
I mean, it'd be nice.
Now, I don't know what happened with this strike, but Senator Van Hollen, who never met a Latin gangbanger that he didn't like, has a new hoax.
New hoax alert. New hoax alert. New hoax alert.
Yeah, I love him.
I think it's very possible there was a war crime committed. Of course, for it to be a war crime, you have to accept the Trump administration's whole construct here,
that we're at war,
which is we're in armed conflict at war with this particular, with the drug gangs. Of course, they've never presented the public with the information they've got here, but it could be worse than that, right? If that theory is wrong, then it's plain murder.
Barbaric cartels are injecting billions of dollars of narcotics into our country, causing death and violence and addiction. That's not a war crime, but stopping them is a war crime. Now we know what the Seditious Six video is setting up.
Do you believe if there was a second strike to eliminate any survivors, that that constitutes a war crime?
It seems to. If what has been reported is accurate, I've got serious concerns about anybody in that chain of command stepping over a line that they should never step over.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Kelly and his crew were telling soldiers to disobey their superiors to hit coke boats. Next time the Secretary of War orders a coke boat blown, we could see soldiers mutiny.
I mean, it was talk about unlawful orders in that video without stating what unlawful order our troops should be looking out for. And then you're pretty much telling them to disobey their commander, or well, obviously the higher ups or those who are above them. Yeah, that's insubordination. Actually, you're trying to incite them. You're inciting insubordination and basically mutiny. And trust me, there are some orders that they don't have time to sit there and just scratch their heads about. So yeah, y'all can't be doing that.
Democrats are
if you have a problem, talk to the leadership. Talk to Hegseth. You can't get through to Hegseth, I mean, cry about it to somebody else.
Telling soldiers to mutiny.
Just say simply, I'm not going to do that. That's against the law.
It puts a lot of burden on the troops to make a decision in real time. But
a reasonable person can tell something that is legal and something that is illegal.
So would you refuse these specific orders to strike drug boats if you were still in uniform?
Well,
I get that one.
Difference between the initial strike.
Shout out to my man Parabolic Curvatry. He's like, not like Trump cares about international law for armed conflicts. Well, yeah, for armed conflict, but it states take all feasible precaution to avoid or minimize incidental harm. Well, let me see here. Let's see. Well, I'll say this. I think Biden read the ground game wrong, or what was going on the ground wrong, and that's what pretty much led to it. Or whoever came in just said, look, F whatever Donald Trump was talking about. Nah, he was just being a coward, and he's a liar. It was off TDS. I'm just joking, by the way. And they said, F, we just gonna try it. But in all actuality, I just think they got the ground game wrong. Like, what was going on the ground was way different than what was going on in their head.
And what is being reported, as a second.
And I ain't gonna lie, somebody should have told him that, like, if we pull out, the Taliban just gonna take over. We're still fighting them right now. It's not like we pushed them back, but we ain't like take them out. I don't know why nobody told him that.
Strike. And those things are different. I think this administration has tied themselves in knots.
Well, the ladies of The View, who I know have never done cocaine, ever, says not only is Hegseth a war criminal, but all the rank and file should go on trial.
Wow.
The person who gave the order can be held accountable and put in prison. The people that conducted the orders, that pulled the trigger, are also responsible and can be held accountable. So now you have people that are serving their countries, that are serving this country as patriots, perhaps following an illegal order, and then themselves can be court-martialed.
I don't think American servicemen and women participating in Operation Southern Spear are watching The View. But word's getting out that following orders in Latin America could land you in Leavenworth. Senators are telling soldiers to use the N-word.
Huh?
You mentioned that you were a captain in the Navy. If you received that order, would you have carried it out?
No.
No.
Trump says no one's getting punished
Oh.
except the people interfering with
You'd
military
ignored your bro. Stop lying, bro. You would not have ignored your higher ups. You knew what it came with that. You better be able to substantiate that on the spot. You better, or it's gonna be a problem for you. So I don't know if he actually meant that. He's kind of talking outside of the position, or like I say, from the bleachers.
operations. Quote, there are laws that affect our nation. Read Title 18, Chapter 115, Section 2387. Whoever with the intent to interfere, impair, influence the loyalty, morale, or discipline of the military and naval forces will be fined or imprisoned up to 10 years. So where do these people even get off? The Biden administration, after Abbey Gate, executed 10 Afghans with a Reaper drone and called it a righteous strike.
All right, and shout out to my man Daniel Castro, because he said we need to remind you on what the National Emergency Act is. And it is a United States federal law enacted to end all previous national emergencies and to formalize the emergency powers to the president. So let's see here. The law established procedures for presidents to declare national emergencies and requires them to specify the statutory powers they intend to use. It also terminates existing emergencies and mandates that the president reports expenditures for each declared emergency and allows Congress to terminate an emergency using expedited procedures. Oh, wow. So basically, I mean, yeah, Trump's pretty much working well within his power.
48 hours later, oops, it was an innocent family. I guess it's not
Barely,
a war crime
though.
if it's an accident.
Maybe.
Bombs Away Barry dropped over 20,000 bombs on 7 countries in 2016. Killed thousands of people. Not all of them were terrorists. There was a lot of collateral damage. Was anyone court-martialed? What we're witnessing now is a setup. The Washington Post leaks a story about a double-tap strike, and the seditious six comes out and calls it a war crime.
Yep.
A week after their video told soldiers to disobey orders. It's so obvious, The View sees it.
Well, I know this is why those Democratic vets put
Right,
out
so
that
obvious
video
The View
last week
sees
that
it.
people said, why would they need to say what's already obvious? The likelihood of this is it's not a war. We're not at war with Venezuela, but it's murder. It's flat out murder. And anyone that acted on those orders could be held on war crimes.
They've been foaming the runway for a while. CIA Slotkin, who's running point for this domestic propaganda operation, said last month, Trump, not Maduro, is the real dictator.
He seems to be laying the groundwork to stay in power. There are 2 ways this can happen, both straight out of the same.
I'm sorry. I don't believe the ex-CIA lady who, you know, probably was running color revolutions back in her day. I'm sorry, but I don't trust you because, yes, you used to work for the CIA. I mean, 2, I'm pretty sure you was popping off color revolutions. And 3, of course, you try to pop one off against the president. I mean, you're damn near filling out all the markers. I mean, there's a list. Well, I would say this. You're kind of abiding by all the tendencies of a color revolution. I'm not sure why they're going for this. Oh, yes, I know why. Because they can't win in the courts. They don't see themselves winning any more elections, so they just want to flip the chessboard. Which, and like my man Chase said, the chessboard is America.
Authoritarian playbook. The
So-
first, a scenario in which Trump finds a pretext, invokes the Insurrection Act, and tries to impose martial law. Elections, therefore, could be canceled.
Isn't it funny that the CIA-backed seditious six doesn't want a real war on drugs? They want us to do the same thing that hasn't worked for decades. Well, maybe it has worked for the CIA. The CIA reportedly uses the war on drugs, cartels, Latin American paramilitary groups as black ops, off-the-book operations to run money and weapons and rig elections.
Yep.
That's been widely reported. Now the military's leaking classified intelligence about airstrikes in the Caribbean? Seems like there's factions of the government that do not want Trump to be successful in Latin America. Isn't it weird that they have no issues fighting wars in Europe and bombing countries in the Middle East, but when it's in our own backyard and it's something that directly affects the American people, then they have a problem?
The United States is under attack from organized criminal narco-terrorists in our hemisphere. and the president is responding in the defense of our country. I do find it interesting that all these countries want us to send, and supply, for example, nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles to defend Europe. But when the United States positions aircraft carriers in our hemisphere where we live, somehow that's a problem.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube?
That is hilarious. It's like, oh, so you want us to go ahead and help you guys out with y'all little BS war with Ukraine and Russia, but but when we do something, you pull out on us. All right, say less. Yeah, I mean, come on now. We kind of knew that the Europeans were acting a little bit like spoiled with our assistance. They was getting a bit spoiled with our aid. That's why I'm actually happy when we pulled out and they was crying about it.
But what do you make of the
Calling us, you guys are betraying the American way. No. We just don't want to fund this war through proxy. That's turning out to be a losing war. Like, we're good on that. We're good. You guys can take that losing war to the grave with you guys. And sadly, the Ukrainian lives that are being lost with it. Hopefully that's on y'all conscience. Hopefully. Shout out to Parabolic Curvature. He says, as someone who appreciates John Adams, the Sedition Act he passed was garbage then and garbage now. They were saying French immigrants are gonna overrun us. Sounds familiar? Non-issue then and now. I mean, I like where you're going with that argument. I actually do like where you're going with that argument. It's like, yeah, throughout history, we have like kind of I guess demonize certain groups just to make I would say make good with them later. Probably the best way to say it right now. But yeah, I hear what you're saying on that one, especially when it comes to how we're criticizing the Somali community, the Afghani community. I'll give you that one. Because they're saying that right now. It does sound very familiar. It definitely does.
fact that tonight they seem to be pointing the finger pretty directly at this admiral and naming him both at the White House podium and Pete Hegseth in this tweet in his defense, but really saying that he's responsible for this.
Yeah, I think that is a great indication of an administration who knows that something has gone terribly wrong here. I think that people are finally recognizing, and that's why you see we did that intro with all of these different leaders and lawmakers saying that this is a stone cold war crime. This is so basic to everybody who has served in the military and who has trained on the law of war and the law of armed conflict, that it is a war crime, that it's no surprise that the administration will be trying to shift the blame. I think that the choice to sort of pin this on Admiral Bradley is an interesting one, but not unexpected, because Secretary Hegseth is not somebody who has exactly leadership qualities, right? He's actually largely unqualified to be in that position. And so, of course, his natural instinct would likely be to say something.
Damn, he could lead people into actual war, but I guess he just can't lead the War Department. I mean, well, damn, that's tough, sis. That's real tough.
Wrong, let me find somebody to blame this on. Now, that's not to absolve Admiral Bradley of anything. If the facts really have played out the way that it is being reported, he absolutely had a duty not to follow an unlawful order if it was Secretary Hegseth's order.
Yeah, I mean, Batia, this kind of puts the whole unlawful order thing in a different context, because now there's a real question about whether there was an unlawful order and who gave it.
Well, first of all, the story has been massively misreported.
Let's see.
So you have actual headlines saying that Hegseth gave the order for the second hit. That wasn't in the initial Washington Post article.
Yeah, that's true. And like they're saying, Hegseth didn't give the order. It was actually Admiral Bradley. And hopefully Admiral Bradley can speak up for himself, or maybe he just resigns. We'll see what comes out of that. But all right, now let's go ahead and get over to this a better sounding video.
Committed one. Right. Let's get right to what America's talking about. War crimes and whether Pete Hegseth committed one. The Pentagon strikes on alleged boats in the Caribbean. They are raising serious alarms from both sides of the aisle tonight. Despite a debate about whether the administration has the authority to even strike the boats, 22 of them have been sunk. More than 80 people killed in those strikes. And now the reports seem to indicate that one of those strikes left no survivors. And a follow-up strike or a double tap was ordered to kill everyone on board that craft. Both Republicans and Democrats are arguing that at best, a second strike is illegal, and at worst, it's a war crime.
If it was as if the article said, that is a violation of the law of war. When people want to surrender, you don't kill them.
If that reporting is true, it's a clear violation of the DOD's own laws of war.
as well as international law. So this rises to the level of a war crime.
Obviously, if that occurred, that would be very serious, and I agree that would be an illegal act.
If the facts are as have been alleged, that there was a second strike specifically to kill the survivors in the water, that's a stone cold war crime. It's also murder.
The White House and the Pentagon have denied a Washington Post report that claimed that Hegseth gave an order to, quote, kill everybody. And tonight, Hegseth and the White House are shifting responsibility to Admiral Mitch Bradley. He's the commander of U.S. Special Operations. Now, Hegseth says that he stands by that admiral's combat decisions, while the White House calls them lawful. Joining us in our fifth seat tonight is Margaret Donovan. She is a former Army JAG. Margaret, I want to start with you because there is this dispute about who gave the order. First of all, what do you make of the fact that tonight they seem to be pointing the finger pretty directly at this admiral and naming him both at the White House podium and Pete Hegseth in this tweet in his defense, but really saying that he's responsible for this?
Yeah, I think that that is a great indication of an administration who knows that something has gone terribly wrong here. I think that people are finally recognizing, and that's why you see we did that intro with all of these different leaders and lawmakers saying that this is a stone cold war crime. This is so basic to everybody who has served in the military and who has trained on the law of war and the law of armed conflict, that it is a war crime, that it's no surprise that the administration will be trying to shift the blame. I think that the choice to sort of pin this on Admiral Bradley is an interesting one, but not unexpected, because Secretary Hegseth is not somebody who has exactly leadership qualities, right? He's actually largely unqualified to be in that position. And so, of course, his natural instinct would likely be to say, something has gone wrong, let me find somebody to blame this on. Now, that's not to absolve Admiral Bradley of anything.
I mean, let's be real, though. Admiral Bradley is the one who ordered the strike and not Hegseth. So, I mean, he's not really placing blame. He's just telling you, well, I didn't order it. That's who did. I'm not worried why she's trying to frame it as if he's kind of just shifting blame. No, he's just telling you, hey, yo, this who ordered the strike. Talk to him. And here's the thing. I mean, I stand behind the strike that he said was cool. He greenlit the strike. I'm standing behind it. That's what Hegseth is doing. So to say that he's shifting blame, no, he's just letting everybody know, well, this is the guy who ordered the strike.
Acts really have played out the way that it is being reported. He absolutely had a duty not to follow an unlawful order if it was Secretary Hegseth's order.
Yeah, I mean, Batya, this kind of puts the whole unlawful order thing in a different context, because now there's a real question about whether there was an unlawful order and who gave it.
Well, first of all, the story has been massively misreported. So you have actual headlines saying that Hegseth gave the order for the second hit. That wasn't in the initial Washington Post article, which claimed that following, by hearsay, somebody claimed to have heard Hegseth say, we have to kill everybody. Therefore, the admiral gave the second hit. So I just want to clear that up. I think that's why Hegseth wrote the tweet, is to just correct the record. But what I don't understand is it is the Secretary of State's right to determine who is a terrorist and who isn't. The Secretary of State answers to the executive branch. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has determined that these boats are carrying terrorists, which makes the attacks on them legal. And the only question is whether that boat was disabled or whether it was destroyed. If it was destroyed, how are there still live people clinging to it? And if it was only disabled, let me just finish the point, then it was still a threat, meaning it was still a legitimate target. So I'm very confused. And by the way, I've spoken to a lot of veterans today who are also very confused by all of this bipartisan outrage.
Well, good thing we have a military lawyer at the table.
I just respond to two things.
Yeah,
you know, first, I would say to your point about, you know, who gave this order, what the Washington Post article said. I think that's precisely why we need the Senate and the House to do what they're supposed to do.
I
have
totally
oversight,
agree,
have investigations.
I totally agree.
Let's figure it out.
I want more information as well.
And second, on the point of the Secretary of State making it something a designated terrorist organization, that actually does not enable you to lethally target somebody. Naming somebody on the Secretary of State's list of foreign terrorist organizations actually only does, I mean, serious things. You can sanction people who are members of DTOs or FTOs. You can ban them from immigrating to the United States. You can actually criminally prosecute people who give them support material.
All right, then why were we recklessly bombing the Houthis in Yemen and you guys didn't say nothing about it? I mean, all right, so what? You guys only care when It's the Hispanic guys getting bombed, but it was all good when it was the, you know, the Arabs. Where was the argument then?
Support to terrorism, but it does not enable you to lethally target them. Yes, many DTOs and FTOs end up being organizations that we target abroad, but that's subject to congressional authorization and the laws of armed conflict when we see them
So
abroad.
you are in a dispute with the administration about that, which is totally fine.
Precisely.
Yes. Okay. So
Yes.
yes. So, but I am not. I think that they have that authority. So they have not been challenged yet in any significant way, neither by Congress nor by the court. And so obviously, you're siding with.
Yeah,
them.
I mean, I'll let you get in, but I mean, I don't want us to lose the point here. The question is actually not whether or not this was a legitimate target. I think there's dispute about that, but that's not what we're disputing. The question is whether it is legal, according to our rules of engagement and the laws of armed conflict that we abide by, to strike a target a second time when the target doesn't appear to pose a threat or is surrendering. That is the part that I think is in dispute. And that's not a question of whether they were terrorists or not. Even if they were terrorists, that might very well be illegal.
Yeah, I think we should take a step back, because the only reason we know about this is because obviously somebody involved in that operation was uncomfortable with what was happening.
Yeah.
And that's how the Washington Post found out about it. Somebody leaked this to a reporter. People are not happy with Hegseth's leadership at the department. People are not happy with some of the things that the military is being ordered to do, whether it's the SEAL team, whether it's CENTCOM, whether it's, and I think that we have to pay attention to the fact that this isn't coming from.
All right, got the results. So short answer, yeah, there was no new congressional authorization this year for strikes on the Houthis in Yemen, but it was carried out anyway. So when we struck the Houthis in Yemen, what was it? Operation Rough Rider, which was in March through May, was ordered by Trump without a specific order from Congress authorizing war or the use of force against the Houthis. So yeah, when we bombed the Houthis and when we designate them as a terrorist organization, that's how we got it off. Like, what is she talking about? Because we didn't get no congressional approval to bomb the Houthis in Yemen. I mean, if we're just if we're just having a consistent argument, if we're just holding her argument up to consistency, it's not really holding out.
Some random reporter who was on the boat with them. This is coming from an internal source who is unhappy with the leadership of the administration.
To that point, the Washington Post had a story tonight that this is a quote from a military official. This is protect Pete bullshit, that source said. One official said of Levitt's statement, it's throwing us, the service members, under the bus.
Right. I think it's going to be hard for this guy to
there is clearly
now, you know, who's to say there's not somebody that, you know, in the Washington Post that's pretty much getting paid to leak to the press. Who's to say, oh, don't find anything to keep on these boat bombings? If you see anything crazy happen, go ahead and report it to us. And that's what they're doing, because they're trying to sow distrust in the military and distrust within the Trump administration, which is already been achieved within Democrat base. I mean, honestly, just came as a given for them.
not just whatever happened in that strike, but the cleanup from the White House is causing a lot of consternation.
Yeah, well, one thing I would note is every lawmaker you played started their thought by saying, if this is true. And the fact of the matter is there is a lot in dispute tonight. We don't know the answers to everything. And Batya raised an important point that there is a difference between disabling a boat and destroying it. If it was only disabled under the laws of war, actually, they would have potentially been able to make that a military target. But I think a couple important points to make here more generally is, it's interesting to hear the media talking about this breathlessly for hours and hours when...
Oh, guys, make sure you guys double tap the screen and like the video. Appreciate the support, by the way. And make sure to hit that icon up at the top and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it.
Biden or Obama drone striked. The only thing that needed to happen was John Kirby would go on TV and say, oh, we made a mistake. We're learning from it. And nobody batted an eye. And yet now this has become the biggest,
It's
story,
actually
though.
not true that no one batted an eye at Obama's highly controversial drone strikes. That's the first thing.
No, and in fact, in the
Whoa. No. We're not saying nobody batted an eye. We're saying that, bro, y'all weren't going to the extremes as if Trump did it. Like, y'all did not call for impeachment. You didn't call for that man to step down. You just wagged y'all finger, but then let him keep his positions. Like the Jay Jones situation. It's like, yeah, y'all wagged y'all finger at his text messages wishing death on children, but you didn't make that man step down. It's the same thing with Obama. It seems like y'all wave y'all finger, but you won't implement no consequences.
Al-Awlaki strike, which was probably one of his most controversial, the legal opinion supporting that strike was fully disclosed at some point. And I think that's what needs to happen here. We need to see the legal opinions.
But I think the
supporting
bigger story, though,
strikes.
is the average Trump voter looks at this and they think, why is the media breathlessly covering narco terrorists and drug traffickers when the average American looks at this and thinks, oh, Donald Trump is actually
what I would say to
protecting
the average
border.
Trump voter is that we have rules of engagement in the world that are not there to protect narco terrorists. They're there to protect American soldiers in combat. And so it's super important for people who, I'm sure a lot of Trump supporters who have loved ones who are going out in armed conflicts to know that when they are engaged by an enemy, that enemy, if they are not adhering to rules of war, are held responsible for those violations. And that, if they are adhering to rules of war, if they are...
I don't know. This is a bit wild. It kind of sounding like they're setting up for, honestly, the Dems are damn near setting up anybody in the military who follow Trump's orders to be arrested if they take the House. Bro, if the Dems, if they even win midterms, I don't know, man. It sounds like they're willing to bring down charges on any military men who actually follow Trump's orders. They're going to be like, well, we told you they was unlawful orders. We told you. And now you got to go to jail. And that in itself is going to start a whole civil war. So, yeah, they're going for everything at this point, even trying to sow dysfunction in the military. Crazy, but it is what it is.
Struck in an attack, and then they've survived. There are rules about what happens to them. They don't get just assassinated on the battlefield if they weren't taken out in the initial strike. So that's why it matters. It matters to Trump voters. It matters to Biden voters. It also matters to the United States' credibility in the world, because this isn't just... Look, I mean, we don't even know who these people were. We don't know what drugs they were carrying. It's not about that. It's about whether or not...
you can literally see the drugs on the boat, but I guess the drugs don't matter. I guess the fact that it was a drug boat doesn't matter. You guys want to try to humanize them or create this, this fantastic story of, oh, they're hostages, or, oh, they could be fishermen on a drug boat somewhere. Come on. Really? And then y'all really fed it to the people that, oh, these are fishermen. They weren't fishermen. No, and they weren't ever proven to be fishermen. So I'm really confused on what's going on here, because guess what? Nobody knows. All we know is that when these boats blow up, there's drugs on them. Do we know if there's narcos on them? Do we know if they're just being human smuggled? Do we know if the guys that are driving these boats are being coerced and all that wild stuff? We don't know. But guess what? We are blowing up the boat. So we'll find out eventually. Hopefully. God willing.
We operate by any rules at all.
Absolutely. And I think that's the real challenge here, because it's an irony, if not hypocrisy, to see both White House and Congress of both parties all of a sudden full of this moral energy when international law has been stripped and disregarded. Human rights have been stripped and disregarded. We could talk about that in regard to Gaza, war crimes, what I consider genocide, but we can debate that, right? But same is true with executors. We just had the Prince of Saudi Arabia treated like a king. Crimes against...
He is a king, by the way. Come on now. Well, first off, the man is investing trillions of dollars into America. What are you doing besides complaining about America? And he is a king. Let's be quite honest.
Humanity taking place every day. Same is true in the history of the United States vis-a-vis Latin America. The Monroe Doctrine of 1823, we have intervened in 31 of the 33 countries down there. So you can imagine what they think of us. Military coups against democratic regimes, Guatemala, Gulag, Brazil, we can go on and on and on. So it's an irony to see all of a sudden both of these parties saying, we've got this moral authority concerned about what is a war crime and what isn't. Okay, let's debate that. But the larger context is the war crimes have been shot through the history of the country.
I mean, hey, you got a good point though, I guess. Like I said, we carried out that strike on the Houthis. That wasn't like that didn't get no congressional approval when we did it. So, like, where is that argument there? Like I said, it does seem like they are picking and choosing at this point. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is with these guys. But all right, let's get over to back to the right side of media. And don't worry, guys. We'll spend a little bit of time on the right side of media for the guys who watch this who are, the Dem base. But guys, we gotta go ahead and see what the right talking about. All right, shout out to my man Hannity.
We begin with something I have been saying forever. And I always add when I say it, I pray to God I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. It's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when. Biden's unvetted so-called illegal immigrants, they call them migrants, commit an act of terror inside of our country.
And shout out to Parabolic Curvature, says take his money and shove it. Homegrown wealth, FTW. Well, damn, I mean, I guess Parabolic standing on something today. Hey, shout out Parabolic Curvature. Appreciate the support, brother. Let's get right back into it with Hannity.
This preventable tragedy, it played out last week when an Afghan refugee opened fire on U.S. National Guard soldiers on the streets of Washington, D.C. Now, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, only 20 years old. That woman is 20 years old, murdered in cold blood. At the very hour, Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who was critically injured, who is now fighting and clinging for his life as we speak. And we're going to update you on all of this in a moment. But first, we got to take a step back and remember, how did we get here? Take a look.
We are conducting thorough scrutiny, security screening for everyone who is not a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. Anyone arriving in the United States will have undergone a background check. Number 3, once screened and cleared, we will welcome these Afghans who helped us in the war effort over the last 20 years to their new home in the United States of America.
Like,
the cap.
Like, bro.
Got the cap. It was never thorough. They weren't screened. They were never vetted, and they were never cleared. There was no way to truly vet these people in, quote, record time. Now, the pro-U.S. government in Afghanistan, as we all remember, was an embarrassment. It collapsed because of Joe Biden, his incompetence. The U.S. fled Kabul in one of the worst, most chaotic ways possible. We lost 13 American service members. Remember, they were killed by terrorists during this Biden-caused disaster. They piled people at random into military planes. They left many American citizens behind enemy lines while accidentally evacuating some Afghans, but among them, many extremists. And then, to top it all off, the Biden White House continued to import thousands upon thousands of more unvetted Afghan nationals.
Wild. They were willing to,
More than 5,000 of them, that's over 5,000, were flagged for national security issues, but they let them into our country anyway. Nearly 7,000 had links, to potential derogatory information, including nearly 1,000 who were flagged over public safety concerns. That means concerns about you. And as of today, there are 885 individuals with national security concerns. We don't know where they are. They're still at large inside the continental U.S. But according to Alejandro Mayorkas, the administration's chaotic failure, disaster, dangerous plan to import unvetted Afghan nationals and lie about it was a great source of pride for them. Take a look.
Operation Allies Welcome, which we led in a coordinated effort across the government, is a great source of pride for us to bring to safety in the United States individuals who stood alongside our armed forces in Afghanistan.
For those who got on the C-17s and other planes, how many were vetted before they got on the plane by American officials?
To the United States, it is our policy to vet and screen 100% of them.
So 100% of those people that got on the plane were vetted. That's your testimony under oath.
It is our policy to do so.
Are you telling this committee under oath that 99% of the people who got on these planes in Afghanistan were vetted by our government before they got on that plane?
I want to be very clear because precision.
Because you're not.
No. Senator, if I may, you are asking me about planes from transit countries, the third countries.
I'm talking about people who got on the plane
to
in
the
Kabul
United
airport.
States. No, I can't speak to that.
Huh?
Were they vetted before they went on the plane? Not a complicated question. Mayorkas, frankly, was dodging and ducking and weaving and lying. And so was Circleback Jen Psaki. Remember, Biden's press secretary?
Like literally, bro.
That shit is hard. Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Like honestly, like you just can I just get an answer, because this is a matter of national security, and he's just giving you like I want to be precise. So yeah, when you precisely give me an answer on how much of these guys have you vetted, and maybe the ones that are unvetted, and 99%, I mean, bro, what about the 1%? Oh no, now it went from 99 to 90. Oh, 90 to 88. Like, bro, what's going on? So yeah, I mean, now that Mayorkas is not really sure how the vetting process really went down. Like, to be honest, the way his speech was, it sounds like there were things that he wasn't even privy to.
Secretary assuring all of America that all Afghan refugees coming into the United States were vetted and peace-loving patriots. Not really. Take a look.
I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process. And there are many individuals, as you noted, who have not been through that process, and they have gone to lily pad countries as that process has been completed. It doesn't mean that that's because there's a flag. It means they have not completed their paperwork, and we were working to save tens of thousands of people. Hence, we evacuated them to these third countries.
Just like the millions and millions across the border of the roughly, 76,000 plus Afghan nationals that Biden officially welcomed into our country was just a small portion of the millions and millions. We have called attention to it over and over during the 4 years of Biden-Harris Mayorkas. Unvetted, illegal immigrants allowed into this country. 12, 20 million, gotaways. We have no idea how many people they allowed in. We do know they came from everywhere. We do know they came from over 200 countries. We do know many of the countries they came from had terror ties, and almost none of them vetted. And the big lie that they told over and over and over again, the border's closed, the border's secure. That was the mantra of the Biden-Harris Mayorkas, administration and their complicit allies in the media mob that never asked a question. They never dared raise the questions that needed to be asked. Now, in response, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem issued this statement, quote, "I am recommending for a full travel ban on every damn country that's been flooding our nation with killers, leeches, and entitlement junkies. Our forefathers built this nation on blood, sweat, and the unyielding love of freedom, not for foreign invaders to slaughter our heroes, suck dry our hard-earned tax dollars, and snatch the benefits owed to Americans. We don't want them, not one." Unfortunately, Democrats are now vilifying the very people trying to clean up Biden's disaster. They compared National Guard soldiers on the streets of D.C. to stormtroopers, Nazis, Gestapo, brown shirts. Democratic Congresswoman, now Senator Elise Slotkin, even suggesting that these service members were dangerous to the general public. Let me repeat that the National Guard soldiers are the danger to the general public. Oh, is this not whipping people into a frenzy? Is this not demonizing them? Is this not dehumanizing them? Is this not?
No, I said the same thing about that whole Sedition 6 video. I was like, bro, they're not just talking to the military, they're talking to the American people as well, and getting them to sow distrust within the National Guard, and they're mainly talking to the people in DC and Memphis and hoping that these guys are going to get, I guess, incited to do something or get inspired to do something crazy against the National Guard. I'm not saying that the Afghan is one of them. No, I'm not saying that at all. But let's be real. I mean, it is kind of funny how, days after they released that video, something happened to the National Guard. It is a bit funny.
Insightful rhetoric, you decide.
Not funny that they died. It's just funny that occurred. Okay.
When you look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago, it makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military,
get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground.
By every single metric, safety in Washington, D.C. vastly has improved with the assistance of these brave men and women, these National Guard soldiers.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere the National Guard has stepped, I mean, crime has went down dramatically. It's actually a better place because the National Guard is there, like it or not.
Saving lives. Homicide rate down 60, 70% in some cases. And it's not just D.C. FBI Director Kash Patel says the homicide rate for 2025, when the numbers come out, will likely be the lowest in decades in this country. And this is thanks in large part, to policing, to our National Guard. But according to one Democratic strategist, more National Guard soldiers really just means more targets for violent criminals. Wow. Remember the big stink the media made, targeted districts of Sarah Palin? Unfortunately, this never-ending rhetoric from Democrats, the leftist media, it is putting all of these brave...
I mean, yeah, there were people who were trying to blame the shooting of those two National Guardsmen on Trump. They were trying to blame it on Trump. Well, Trump never had them there then. I mean, well, then that guy might have killed two innocent civilians. I mean, let's be real. Like, those lives are equal, but let's be real. It does kind of sound like no matter what, something bad, somebody would have died. And we don't even know what he went out there for. Did he go out there to shoot National Guardmen? Was he aiming for a specific person and the National Guardman was in the way? What was going on? We don't know.
Men and women are national treasure at risk. As one young man, Andy, tonight is fighting for his life in a hospital. Even Senator Mark Kelly suggesting this weekend that our servicemen and women could face criminal charges when Democrats take back power if they carry out unspecified illegal orders from President Trump. But of course, he and the other 5 that are trying to encourage such never identified one single illegal order. Not one. Take a look.
It puts a lot of burden on the troops to make a decision in real time.
It's a tremendous amount of burden on officers in the military, but that is their responsibility. And they can figure out, a reasonable person can tell something that is legal and something that is illegal. And I was saying weeks ago, my concern is with the service members, that we're going to put these individuals in a really, really tough decision, in a tough place. And they may find out, down the road that they did something that is illegal. It is not fair to them.
And what are you doing? You're creating chaos in terms of the president of the United States undermining his authority as commander in chief without identifying a single incident in which that occurred. Democrats are now vilifying Americans for simply working their hardest to make the country.
Yeah, you're literally trying to advise these guys to incite mutiny, insubordination. I mean, yeah, that's sedition. I mean, you could say these guys are walking on. I'm gonna be fair and say it was borderline sedition, but let's be real. When you read the law out loud, it is a bit damning. It's like, y'all kind of did commit sedition. And the reason why I say that is because they were advising these young military men to pretty much go against their higher ups. And I mean, hey, if you face an unlawful order, don't follow it. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work out well for them, especially if they don't know themselves. Remember, most of these orders, I believe, go through military court or go through a law department, basically. So to sit for those those young not policemen, but for those young military men to sit there and kind of doubt the order, especially in times of urgency, would not be in their best interest.
In the world a safer place, including ICE agents who face attacks and threats and doxing and harassment every single solid.
What I'm saying is that they don't know if it's an unlawful order, if it's coming from a higher up. I would hope you guys would understand the common sense of that. So if it's coming from a higher up, it's already assumed that it's a lawful order. That's how they're running. So trying to sow dysfunction on the lower ranks instead of speaking to the captains, instead of speaking to the upper guys, you might as well speak to Hegseth and those guys in a group if you want to talk about unlawful orders. You don't talk to the bottom guys, because guess what? By the time that order gets to them, it's presumed as lawful.
Military Day We chronicle it almost every night on this program. And you have Gavin Newsom. Oh, well, if he has his way, ICE agents can't put a mask on, but the people that protect him can. Oregon's attorney general is even threatening to prosecute ICE agents, the governor out there, for doing their job. And make no mistake, this is important work.
No,
Just last week, another Afghan national arrested.
No, you can't use I was following orders as an excuse. If it came down for your upper command and it went through all the legal means all the way down to you and you had to go carry it out, they can't put that on you. They put it on leadership. So I don't even know why the Dems are fear mongering when they know how this works. They're trying to sow fear in the young military men or in the military when no, that's not how it works. They know that, yeah, it comes from their higher ups and is presumed as a lawful order. And if later on down in history it's presumed as an unlawful order, then that goes up through the leadership. And of course, it goes through the guys who legally reviewed it as well. So there's a lot of things that go down before it's deemed an unlawful order. And let's be real, any lawful order that came from the top is usually going to get stopped on its way down.
For making terroristic threats and bragging about building a bomb. This in Fort Worth, Texas. Thankfully, he was apprehended. But mark my words, many more violent criminals who don't love our country, who have not been vetted, are still lurking in the shadows.
And actually, I want to ask you guys a question. So you're telling me that, all right, let's say this. So you're telling me you would want the conviction of a bunch of guys, of a bunch of young men who are just following orders and carrying out those strikes, and they presume to be lawful, and because later on they presume unlawful, you'd want all of them to go to jail. Right? That's what you're saying?
Seen innocent Americans murdered. We've seen innocent Americans raped, innocent Americans victims of violent crime again and again. And the hatred and the vitriol, you know, of reckless, dangerous, inciting rhetoric and dehumanization continues. It doesn't stop. Just like the same party, the party of love and the party of compassion. They couldn't stand for.
No, that's what and that's what you guys don't understand it. They would have to knowingly commit an unlawful order, knowingly. So really, the only people who can get caught up for putting through unlawful orders would be leadership. Like I said, by the time it gets down to the ground troops or the base guys, yeah, it's already presumed as lawful. See, that's what I'm saying. You guys don't know what you're talking about. And you'd pretty much be locking up a bunch of innocent individuals who was just following presumed lawful orders from their higher up. So you'd be locking up innocent people, all because you hate Trump.
For the family of Lake and Riley during President Trump's joint session speech, or the family of Jocelyn Nungary, a little 12-year-old girl, brutally raped and murdered by one of these unvetted illegal immigrants. Can't applaud their family.
And then some of y'all got emotional arguments like, well, it's murder. I mean, they're soldiers. Military strikes, bro. We was killing the Houthis in Yemen with no congressional approval, and y'all crying about this? Really? Man, get over yourselves. Man, get over yourselves. Crying too much, man. Y'all should have been crying back when we were bombing the Houthis. But I guess y'all picking and choosing, huh? I mean, damn. I thought y'all was the one that cared about Arabs the most. Or my bad, the Arabs the most. I thought y'all cared a little bit more than that. But it is what it is.
Reporters are Tom Homan is here. All right, Tom, I get if this guy fought for the CIA in Afghanistan, he was a killer. He killed for us. And if we leave and leave him there, they're going to slit his throat. But why do we have to bring him here? Why can't he go to like 12 other Muslim countries where he can fit in? And if he blows himself up, we're not collateral damage.
Well, look, you're exactly right. You know, Jesse, I worked for Fox News the last 4 years under Joe Biden, and almost every day I was on the air saying that the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, was lying. So wasn't Lloyd Austin. These people were not properly vetted. And you don't have to believe me, but DHS Inspector General came out report, said the same thing, and so did DOD IG. They weren't properly vetted because they didn't have access to any documentation. I know for a fact a lot of these Afghanistans, the ones that landed here in Dulles airport, came with no documentation at all, not even an ID, and nothing from their homeland. And if you're going to try to find those documents, which they really don't exist, you're going to take them from the Taliban. You're going to make Taliban's going to give us the intelligence information we need to vet these people. It's ridiculous. They weren't properly vetted. The Inspector General, DOD, and DHS.
See, that's what I'm saying, bro. Y'all are acting too childish about this argument, saying ignorance of the law is no excuse. There is no ignorance of the law. We're talking about a military order. to go out there and take lives. And trust me, you can go a lawful order. You can take lives within a lawful order. We do it a lot, actually. We did it this effing year, which is hilarious, with no congressional approval. So why are y'all crying now? That's what I'm saying. That's why you guys sound like hypocrites, because your argument doesn't stand. Like, bro, what about all right, wasn't an unlawful order when we bombed the Houthis? Was it? Because why did everybody just skate past that like it was all good? All right, then.
Said it several times. Joe Biden lied to American people along with Alejandro Mayorkas. And they want to keep saying that, this is Trump's problem. Trump has blood on their hands. Where were all these Democrat congressmen and senators the last 4 years when 10 million illegal aliens came to the border? When sex trafficking, women and children are all-time high. They lost track of 300,000 children that were smuggled in the country. President Trump's already found 30,000 of them. Yes. President Trump's winning every day.
So they lied to us. They didn't vet them. They lied, and they're here. Does that keep you up at night?
Link, bro, you don't want to have this comparison to the Houthis, because I'll be honest with you, we did them way worse. Actually, not only did we double strike them, we blew up an entire apartment complex, killing innocent civilians within it. No congressional approval, by the way. No outrage from the left. No nothing.
Yes, it does.
Let that sink in for a little
bit.
At
least the ones they failed to vet, they got photographed and they got a fingerprint, right? They don't have the records to really show if they're a terrorist, if they're a bad person or not. But let's not forget the 2 million plus gotaways that came across our southern border. We have nothing on them. Damn. We don't know where they came from, why they're here, or where they're at now. But we're working really hard in the intelligence communities to find them. President Trump is committed to finding every one of these people, and we're going to hold them accountable. And even the children, I'm going to keep focusing on these children. We've already found 30,000 of them. These are 30,000 children that President Trump rescued that the last administration wasn't even looking for. So DOJ, Department of Justice, FBI, DHS, we're all one team. We're going to find these, not only the children, we're going to find every one of these people that weren't vetted properly. We're going to find out exactly who they are. If we can't vet them, they're going to be deported, because we can't rely to leave them in this country if we don't have the information to show that they're not a terrorist.
Good. You heard the top of the show. Democrats are chomping at the bit. They want to go after Hegseth for war crimes. Now they're potentially targeting rank and file soldiers for just obeying orders. Are you worried?
Literally.
Tom?
I mean, like, bro, if your commander's not literally telling you to go out there and commit a genocide, I mean, quite honest with you, like, what an unlawful order is like so damn obvious. That's like, we can trust our military guys not to follow one. Like, an unlawful order is like so out there. It would literally have to be them. Oh yeah, can you go out to this little village in the middle of nowhere and just take out the entire people? Yeah, I mean, just take them all out. I mean, yeah, that'd be an unlawful order. I think even the military men would go like, whoa, what's the beef with them? Oh, no, they're not designated as a terrorist group or anything. We're just telling you to go out there and take them out. They would sit there and be like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. But if you tell them to go out there and take out this little village because it's the Taliban and they're in Afghanistan, then they're going to have to sit there and be like, damn, I mean, I guess we got to do what we got to do. And I mean, and let's say that those innocent people in that little village were actually innocent civilians. I mean, because of presumption that they're the Taliban, lawful order. But let's just say they don't say anything at all. They say, oh, just kill these people. We don't know who they are. Just kill them. I mean, that's obviously an unlawful order. So that's what I'm saying. It's so obvious what an unlawful order is damn near condescending to even talk to our servicemen like that.
That they're going to target you with prosecution after this is all over?
Well, they already said they're going to, so come get some. Bottom line is, I'm not going to let them forget what they did the last 4 years. 500,000 children were separated from their families and smuggled across this border. 250,000 Americans died from drug overdoses that came across that border. And what's President Trump done? He gave us the most secure border in history of this nation, which means sex trafficking plummeted. No unsuspected terrorists coming across the borders plummeted. Criminal cartels are going broke. He's record deportation. Every promise he's made to the American people, he's getting. And let's not forget, we're going to find every one of these people that weren't vetted, and we're going to make sure that they are properly vetted, and if not, they're going home. President Trump's going to make this country safe again. He made that promise. We're going to make sure that he keeps that promise.
Man, I mean, yeah, let's hope. Look, they got about 600,000 so far, so that's good. and they want to start cracking down on those communities, go ahead. I mean, like I said, I'll just never be throwing the whole community under a bus, though. Now, shout out to my man Jet. He says Obama does it, gets a noble. Trump does it, it's illegal. I know, right? I know. Actually, it's crazy because like Trump did it earlier this year and they had nothing to say at all. At all. They were silent, hushed up. Like, actually, they were more concerned about the signal messages that authorized the strike than the actual strike itself. Isn't that hilarious?
Pete Hegseth under pressure. The president tonight meeting with top aides, including his defense secretary and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, as questions grow about the United States military's second deadly strike on a specific boat, an alleged drug boat from Venezuela. This strike coming after a first strike apparently left 2 people alive clinging to the vessel. Now, that second strike is one that lawmakers and legal experts from both parties say is against the law, some even calling it a war crime. Now, the main headline in the Drudge Report is war crime, Hegseth bloodlust, and it comes as well-known conservative lawyer Andrew McCarthy writes in the National Review, if this happened as described in the Washington Post report, it was at best a war crime under federal law. At best, a war crime, he says. Well, he's not alone.
I think it's very possible there was a war crime committed.
Do you believe it amounts to a war crime?
Under the facts, yes.
Obviously, if that occurred, that would be very serious, and I agree that would be an illegal act.
All right, that last person was Republican Congressman Mike Turner, and I'll speak with him in just a moment. So what is this Washington Post reporting? Well, let's be explicit about it. The Post is reporting that Hegseth's order to the U.S. military was, quote, to kill everybody. And that's what prompted the follow-up strike against those people clinging to the side of the boat. And this report was a bombshell, prompting the responses that we just showed you and massive cleanup and...
Bro, are you dumb? Bro, the signal messages, bro, they were talking about how they authorized the strike. Not it's a signal message that authorized it. Yeah, no, they were in a signal message. They were bragging about the strike being authorized and how they were about to start getting terrorists and all that good stuff. So what are you talking about? Like, think before you type.
Denial from the Trump administration. Hegseth calling it fabricated, inflammatory, and derogatory reporting. And President Trump on Air Force One said this.
And shout out Grant Barnett. He says they have provided no sources. It's all hearsay. Now, let's see here. Since you sent it about a minute ago, I believe you're talking about, oh, yeah, the legal boat strikes and all that. So they provided no sources. Well, for the legal boat strikes that they were fishermen or no, I'm going to go ahead and look for what you're talking about in the chat.
Number one, I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about.
Trump, at least they're opening the door to saying, well, he himself didn't know what happened. But when it comes to the denial of this deadly strike, Trump's White House actually admitted at one point today that there was a second strike. Listen to this.
To be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true.
Okay.
The latter is true. Well, in the case of that,
Yeah, it sounds like the second strike did happen. The problem is that Hegseth said, well, the second strike did happen, but I didn't order it. It was Admiral Bradley, but I am going to stand behind Admiral Bradley and stand, I guess they're standing on business when it comes to it. Hegseth said, I didn't know about it, but hey, if Admiral Bradley's okayed it, I'm okay with it too. And that's where they're at with it.
Question then, according to Levitt, the second strike happened, but the Secretary of Defense didn't order it? Well,
yeah.
Wow, that opens up Hegseth to another host of serious questions about his command and control. And yet, the Defense Secretary of the United
I mean, hey, bro's a loose cannon. What do you want us to do? Bro's a loose cannon. Bro got a little bit bloodthirsty. What can I say? He woke up on the wrong side of the bed, thirsty for blood. That's Admiral Bradley's fault. We can't put that on Hegseth. Hegseth just said, oh, look, I heard that he did it. I'm standing with him. Bradley ain't speak up for himself. So honestly, we need him to really answer for this, if anything.
United States is treating it like a joke. Today, posting this meme of it, Franklin the Turtle, a children's character, standing on the edge of a helicopter firing a missile at a boat. Hegseth's caption, for your Christmas wish list. Now, of course, just a reminder that he is the Secretary of Defense, or as he calls himself, the Secretary of War. He is the leader of the United States military, posting that. And Senator Mark Kelly, a 25-year Navy combat veteran, who, of course, is now the target of the administration for his recent video reminding people to follow legal orders, took issue with Hegseth's post. Here he is.
He is in the National Command Authority for Nuclear Weapons. And last night, he's putting out on the internet turtles with rocket-propelled grenades. I mean, have you seen this? This is the Secretary of Defense. This is not a serious person. He should have been fired after Signalgate. And then every single day after that.
And of course, Signalgate, a reference to when Secretary Hegseth was sending messages about an impending strike ahead of it happening to a signal group that included a reporter. But it is not just Democrats that Hegseth.
But I didn't call that strike unlawful, did y'all? And what's the difference between the strikes in the ocean here, or the strikes in the Caribbean Sea, and the strike in the in Yemen? Please tell me what's the difference, because there really isn't. And I mean, if you're gonna call this unlawful, then you got to go ahead and call the strikes in the Yemen unlawful as well, because trust me, innocent civilians was killed in that, and y'all ain't say a damn thing. Whole apartment building.
Must contend with, like Kelly. It appears to be affecting those who report up the chain of command to Hegseth. The top military official overseeing the strikes announced his retirement a little bit more than a month ago. It was a surprising move, given that Admiral Alvin Halsey had only been in command for less than a year. But sources tell CNN that tensions between Halsey, who was overseeing U.S. Southern Command, and Hegseth had been simmering for weeks. And Halsey was concerned that the strikes in the Caribbean may not have been lawful. And even in Congress tonight, Republican Congressman Don Bacon raising that same concern, saying that if these strikes occurred like what's being reported in the Washington Post, it would be, quote, an illegal act, echoing the words of Mike Turner, who will be with us in just a few moments. Let's begin now with Elena Treen, though. She is out front live outside the White House. And Elena, Trump holding a meeting at the White House tonight about Venezuela as we are speaking. What's the latest you're learning?
Yeah, and it doesn't.
Here's the thing, like I said, everybody jumping to conclusions. We don't know if these guys are like high value targets or anything like that. But also, yeah, why was a second strike? Yeah, why was there a second strike? We don't know. We don't even know, like I said, these people were high value targets and they just wanted to get them out the way and they were on a list. Hey, it happens. So like I said, we'll see what happens when more information comes out. But right now, everybody's just jumping to conclusions.
Appear that it may have ended. We're still waiting for firm confirmation on that airing, but we saw many of the motorcades leaving the White House after that Oval Office meeting. Look, when I broke the story this morning with our colleague Natasha Bertrand about this meeting, we were told it was going to be on next steps regarding Venezuela. And one of the people who is expected to attend that meeting was Pete Hegseth himself. So I think a lot of it, of course, going to focus on the topic that dominated that briefing today. A lot of these questions and concerns being raised on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue and inside Capitol Hill as well. But other people in the room as well. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane.
He's like, it doesn't matter. They still, bro. Yes, they can. Yes, they can, actually. Like I said, what's the difference between what went down in Yemen and what's going down here? Is not much. Actually, everything you guys say that they can't do, they have already done in y'all faces. And I'm so surprised you guys are outraged about this for some reason. I'm just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, y'all a bit late to the party here because it's been going down, I mean, since basically April. Like, where were y'all at?
All of the people who have been very crucial to trying to map out what their future plans regarding Venezuela are. And I'd remind you what we've heard from President Trump himself, which is that, yes, they want to continue with these strikes on boats off the coast of Venezuela and other places, but also they're looking at potential land strikes as well. And we've reported on how they've been looking at targets such as drug routes and drug facilities inside Venezuela. All of that as well, after we know that the president himself confirmed that he had spoke with the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, just a couple of days ago. He did not say if that meeting went well, but he also didn't say it went bad, Aaron. But I do think the key question and what I keep hearing in my conversations today has been about the concerns over that double tap strike back in September. And I do think what the press secretary said today didn't answer all of the questions that people have. Specifically, I think the key question is, yes, she said that the Admiral Bradley ordered that second strike, but did he do that knowing that there were survivors that had survived after that first strike, or was he just keeping with the broader command? That's the key thing I think the administration is facing right now.
All right. Thank you very much, Elena, with that news from the White House. And I want to go
No, bro. Like this guy here, Dolphin Dave. No, there is no difference. They're both designated a terrorist group. And you're right. One's launching missiles and one's launching drugs across the sea. I mean, there you go. But guess what? They're both authorized to get hit. And you guys had no complaints about Yemen, but you have all the complaints about what's going on over here in the Caribbean Sea. Yeah, y'all not really making too much sense since they are designated, since the cartel has been designated a terrorist organization. So they've been greenlit. It is what it is. I mean, y'all just got to get over that.
As promised to Republican Congressman Mike Turner on the Armed Services Committee. And Congressman Turner, I really appreciate your time, and it's good to speak with you again. So we know the president just held that meeting with Hegseth and Rubio, among others, about Venezuela. Elena's reporting that the motorcades left, so they're awaiting formal confirmation that the meeting's done, but it appears that it has wrapped up. Have you been briefed about this or the details in light of all this reporting of the strikes themselves?
No, Aaron, and I think it's very important that what Elena said. No one really has had the information yet, and I think that's what's important as to what has to happen next. What we know and what we certainly, everyone has said, no one on Capitol Hill has any information previously that would have corroborated what the Washington Post had reported. What we know since that report is that the secretary has said that the report is not accurate, that he did not, give that command. The White House since having said that Admiral Bradley was in charge. And then, as Elena has said, the question then goes to the facts and circumstances with respect to that second shot or the double tap, as you guys have been referring to it. Yeah. Now, what we also know is that both the Armed Services Committees and both the Senate and the House have indicated that they're going to look into the circumstances of this on a bipartisan basis. You have members of Congress who have stepped forward and said that Congress will take a look at this. Now, what's very clear, and then what is concerning, is that this is other than what is expected by Congress. The briefings that we've had, the legal opinions that we've been provided, this is other than what has been expected in this. And people have been very concerned as to how these strikes have been operated. And certainly this is very concerning as we look to then now what actually occurred.
Right. So, the Washington Post reporting, as I said, just to be clear, was that Hegseth's order to the U.S. military was, quote, to kill everybody. Now, when you talk about the Washington Post reporting, I know you've been clear that if it happens as they laid out, it would be an illegal act, right? So I guess what I'm trying to understand from you, Congressman, is what more you need to know. And just talking to you as a member of Armed Services, right? Is it fair that I would be surprised that you have not been briefed on any of this and that you are not aware of the details at this point?
Well, not at this time. And you have to realize everybody just got back from their break and Thanksgiving, and people are now beginning to ask these questions. The one thing that you know is that in classified session, the Congress, all of Congress, was given access to the legal opinion upon which the department was relying when they undertook these strikes against these boats. Now, even though everyone is very, believes that the administration rightly has identified this issue of the drug trade as being something very significant that they want the administration to be focused on, people are very concerned about these strikes in the manner in which that they're occurring. And then with this report coming out, obviously it diverges significantly from what both the legal opinion that we were provided and it, of course, plays into the very concerns that members have as to the fact that these strikes are occurring at all.
All right. Now let's go ahead and get into this Pierce Morgan debate about it.
This point, I support deporting everybody at this point, and I want everybody out.
What about the many people who have not committed crimes?
I don't want us to turn into Europe or the EU.
Innocent people around the world are going to pay the price. They're scapegoating immigrants instead of.
Oh, guys, you got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements? I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Or just $2 and up. Appreciate the support, guys. And if we go ahead and reach goal, I'll go ahead and open up the call-in lines for probably like the last 30 minutes or so of the show. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
Of looking at the real root of the problem, which is U.S. imperialism.
It's not an attack on the Muslim community. It's just a fact.
None of what's been said so far about all of the people that were brought here passes any basic sanity test.
Piers, who are we going to listen to? An actual U.S. soldier who's been there, that's been in this shit, or a guy that plays Fortnite? And out of that 80,000, Stephen, you're acting like every day they're going to be bombing and everything. Trump's been in for 1 year. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Two former heads of the UK Special Forces buried evidence of alleged war crimes by the SAS in Afghanistan, according to shocking evidence given by a high-ranking officer to a public inquiry. The alleged crimes include the fatal shooting of a group of women and children as they hid under a mosquito net, with their killer later receiving an award to divert public suspicion. I should stress these are just allegations, which the SAS vehemently denies, and we're very proud of all of our armed forces in this country. But it's a stark reminder that Afghanistan was plunged into sheer hell by the war on terror. At least 46,000 civilians were killed in that war, the real total likely to be much higher. Hundreds of thousands of Afghans worked with the United States and the British forces, risking execution by the Taliban. As a final insult to injury, the withdrawal of US forces under President Biden was a complete humiliating disaster. That's the context for why many Afghans were allowed to move to the United States and to the UK, and the context is important. Tragically, one of those Afghans, a 29-year-old man who had worked with the CIA, shot two National Guard members in DC on the eve of Thanksgiving, killing one and severely injuring the other. Visibly angry, President Trump blamed the Biden administration.
Why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked. There were many of them.
Like, dang.
Uh-oh, retard alert.
Of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful.
Well, Trump has now halted all immigration requests from Afghanistan. The White House is now threatening to escalate deportations for Afghans, meaning many people who work with the United States against the Taliban could be returned to a country controlled by the Taliban. Earlier this year, it emerged that thousands of Afghans had been secretly invited to the UK to avoid exactly that scenario. UK officials had accidentally outed them, endangering entire families, and the whole thing was shamefully covered up. But once the mistake was exposed, what choice did Britain have? The issue surely is not the principle of helping Afghans who served our forces, but the way it's been done. This was Biden's Homeland Security Chief, Alejandro Mayorkas, testifying in the Senate.
The standard procedure is an in-person interview for refugees or visa applicants. Now, you've testified that you're not doing those interviews.
Not at all. You are correct that we are not conducting in-person full refugee interviews of 100% of the individuals.
What percentage are you conducting?
I don't have that information.
What number have been interviewed? What percentage have been given an actual interview by a trained official before they come to the country?
When you're speaking of a full refugee-like interview, I don't have that data.
Well, Afghan groups in the United States
Bro.
are begging Trump not to touch.
Like, bro,
What did he say?
you don't have that data. That is crazy. Bro, okay. Man, that is crazy to hear. It's what? I mean, what was this? Our old director of Homeland Security, and he doesn't have that data. Go back to that.
When you're speaking of a full refugee-like interview, I don't have that data.
Well, Afghan groups in the United States are begging Trump not to tar all of them with the brush of his lone madman. But it's frankly...
Wow, and just have the American people just sitting here like...
I'm in danger.
hard to see any other outcome. Many Afghans have paid a heavy price for other people's mistakes, and the price is about to get even higher. I'll be joined by my panel to discuss all this in a moment. But first, joining me now is Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Congresswoman Mace, thank you very much indeed for rejoining me on Uncensored.
Of course, thank you for having me.
This is obviously a horrifying incident to have happened with deadly consequences. What is your overview about the significance of it and what America should do by way of response?
Well, number one, my heart bleeds for the families who are grieving today and who are praying for the second National Guardsman who's still fighting for his life. And I'm praying for Sarah's family. It's devastating. These soldiers volunteered their lives to protect our country. Shot, one murdered, assassinated, the other one fighting for his life right now. The second thing that I want to say is that I believe President Biden created this problem, and President Trump is the one cleaning it up. I agree with the president to go back and vet those individuals that came over here from countries of concern, because from what we're learning now, the vetting wasn't what it was supposed to be. It's deeply concerning. I also support President Trump in pausing the immigration for individuals that are coming from countries of concern. And thank God President Trump got elected, because he shut the border down. We know that under 4 years of President Biden, our southern border was.
Now I say shut the border down completely, man. We got enough immigrants. We got enough people. Look, we're gonna be a melting pot for the end of time. Okay, we got enough people. We don't need no more. So go ahead and shut down immigration for good. We got all the Indians, Chinese, black people, white people of all flavors. Okay. So we don't need no more. So go ahead and just shut down immigration for good. Let's get out the bad ones, guys who committed fraud, and we just shut down immigration. And now you can only be a visitor. There you go.
Wide open. We had hundreds of potential terrorists coming through the southern border every single year on the terrorist.
Instead of depending on immigrants to, replace us in birth rate. I mean, that's absolutely wild.
Watch list. And these are the kinds of things that we have to be very vigilant about.
The problem with all this is not that Ramanullah Lakanwal, the killer, became a terrorist and committed an act of terror against these two National Guard members. The problem is that prior to that, he would have been categorized as somebody who'd been quite heroic, working for the United States as part of a secret unit of Afghans, hunting down the Taliban under CIA direction, often in highly dangerous missions. They were members of what was called the Zero units. They were among the most extensively vetted of any of the Afghans who worked with American forces. The CIA hailed their bravery, their skill, their loyalty, and the agency prioritized their evacuation from Afghanistan following the fall of Kabul in 2021 because they were prime targets for the Taliban. So when you take everything in totality, obviously this character, Lakanwal, has gone crazy and has committed a despicable act. But I guess my question for you is, given the background of him and people like him who were risking their life on behalf of the United States, this adds a complexity to the story, doesn't it?
Well, you're categorizing it as a collective group of individuals, a large group of individuals, that we had American soldiers that were begging the U.S. to allow their translators to come over to the U.S. that work with them and help save American lives. And many people supported that. However, there was supposed to be a vetting mechanism to make sure that some people didn't slip through the cracks. And so we have not seen any more information about this individual. And I would debate you on, the problem isn't that he shot the guardsman. It is the problem. I mean, he literally just murdered a young woman Friday. She died and passed away. Sarah died and passed away on Friday. So that is the crux of the problem. He came into our country. He murdered Americans.
Sure. Don't get me wrong. No, sorry, just to be clear, I completely concur with you about that. There's nothing about what he did that is anything other than a despicable act of terrorism and should be treated accordingly. I just think the complexity is in the way America now responds with all the other Afghan soldiers, for example, or translators, interpreters, and so on, who came back after serving on behalf of the United States. That is the complexity of the bigger picture.
Well, that's where I want to see the DOJ and other agencies, DHS and others, explain how this individual was vetted. What information did we have? Was he vetted? Were there signs prior, so that we can improve the vetting process?
Here's the freaking problem. The man was probably vetted like, I don't know, like 2 times. So let's be real. Actually, maybe 3. So he was vetted to join the CIA, a paramilitary group. So there was the first vetting. All right. Then after he helped us out, then he was vetted again for the Operation Allies Welcome. And then that's how he got in. 4 years later, to get naturalized in the United States, he got vetted again. in April of 2025. So this man probably got vetted like 2-3 times, and somehow we didn't catch this. I mean, I don't know if we may be overreacting to a failure of oversight, or this whole operations Open Allies has been like screwed up from the beginning, and it was never really no real good vetting. But here's the thing: it's not like multiple of these guys then popped off. It's not like out of the 90,000, we got 10,000 of them that's going crazy. We got I don't know, maybe 50.
Going forward as well. And look, the president has said he wants to go back and vet all these individuals, and I support him. It's going to be a long and arduous process, but we have to do that for the safety of American lives, and I fully support that. I think there's something to be learned from this experience as well.
I mean, the lesson, it seems to me, that could be most acutely learned from this is that he appears to have been suffering increasing problems in his life. One email cited by the Associated Press warned that Ramanula has not been functional as a person, father, and provider of March last year. He quit his job. He shut himself in a darkened room for days. He stopped responding even to his wife and older children. Should the United States government, when they bring people like this person back to the United States, albeit for well-intentioned reasons, yes, they should be properly vetted, obviously. But as we know from homegrown incidents involving American citizens who served and then go crazy, as we've seen in the UK, similar stories where perfectly decent, upstanding members of the armed forces go mad and commit terrible acts. It can happen, particularly if they've been to war. Yes, they should be properly vetted, but should there be an ongoing process of duty of care, stroke vetting, that continues, that flags up people like this who are clearly beginning to disintegrate in their lives?
Well, I would be supportive of that. I don't know what the details of our vetting process are, or if they do continue. I mean, there might be some process that is already in place to watch people or monitor if there is suspicious behavior. But it's not just soldiers that go to war and come home that then become a risk. There are a lot of people, we know that during COVID and coming out of COVID, a lot of mental illness came forward, and you talk about the transgender issue, there are a lot of mental health issues there, and we've seen people turn violent because of that. But it's not just soldiers. I think there's an even larger problem across the board of people taking to the streets and violating people, whether it's physical assault, shooting an ICE officer, burning down the streets of LA, cars being blown up in LA, you name it. We do have a problem with violence, and it's not just in America. Look at the immigrants that have come into Europe and what they've done. I mean, you've got teenage girls in England trying to defend themselves with knives, being threatened with arrest or being arrested because they don't want to be raped by these violent immigrants who are coming in from these countries of concern into their own countries. And so I think it's a much bigger problem across the board, not just in America, but everywhere.
Crazy. So, I mean, shoot, if you ask the Pakistani community, it's blown out of proportion. But, you know, if you ask the guys like Tommy Robinson, it's all the satanic Muslim cult. But, hey, we'll see. We'll see how this turns out.
Of action moving forward, there are those who are calling for the deportation of all Afghans who came into the US via the GAW, the Gore program. Do you support that?
I support deporting everybody at this point. I mean, I'm looking at the Somalis in places like Michigan and Minnesota that are using autism money from the government to fund terrorism. At this point, I want everybody out. I just can't.
But what do you mean by everybody out?
Everybody?
People that are coming to our country and doing harm, stealing government money, marrying.
Yeah, but that's different. If they commit a crime.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they commit a crime or came here through fraudulent means or not being vet, or if we like re-vet them, we find out they got ties to a terrorist group or something. And yeah, sure, get those guys out. But all of them? Everybody? Sure about that, sis? You sure that's what you want to stand on?
That
is a crime, though. Fraud is a crime.
Sorry, just to be clear. No, to be clear, if they commit a crime, yes, I think there's absolutely they should be deported.
There are a lot of
but what about the many people who have not committed crimes who've come from Afghanistan or Somalia?
Well, we have a history in our country of embracing people who've come from war-torn countries and are seeking asylum, who are seeking those sorts of things. Those are the things that America believes in and we support. But we've allowed all these people in who have we've allowed people to illegally cross our border, steal money from our government, and just get away with it. And I'm quite frankly, like most Americans, sick and tired of it. And then I don't want us to turn into Europe or the EU. You're seeing what's going on over there. And if we continue down the path we are on right now, we're going to be just like them, and we can't have that here.
Right, but just to be clear then, because I'm not quite clear what your position is, you would deport all Afghanis and all Somalians in the United States?
Those who are committing crimes or at risk of committing crimes, I want them out. I want them out of the country.
Those who've committed crimes, I'm with you. But those who look like they're likely to, how do you assess that?
Well, we were just talking about the vetting process. If they look suspicious, I want them out. At this point, I don't even care. I want the safety of our country to be.
I mean, sweetheart, you could word this way better than this. Come on now. Pierce trying to give you a way out, and then we're like almost doubling down. Like, I mean, come on now. Just say, look, the ones that committing crime, fraud, and we could trace back terrorist group, get them out. The rest of them, they're cool. Because that's how I feel, and that's how most people should feel. But there's a lot of people who actually feel like, no, get all the Somalis and Afghanis, and just take them out of here, remigrate them. I'm like, oh, whoa, guys. That might be going a bit too far, and we might be asking for the impossible. You think the Dems going to let us do that? I doubt it.
Primary concern number one. And that's what President Trump is doing. He's the one that's looking at it. He's cleaning up the problem that Joe Biden created. And I fully support it. I mean, I want to crack down. I don't want anybody coming from any of these countries of concern. I'm fine with stopping all immigration from.
Shout out my man Grant Barnett. He's like, she's rage baiting, like for sure. For sure. Because I'm just like, why are you trying to incite this like mentality as if, oh, yeah, we need to feel like we want to deport all Somalis, all Afghanis. I'm like, hold on now. Like, yeah, guys, let's slow roll this a little bit. Let's slow roll it. Whoa there, okay? Calm down, settle your feet. And let's think about this. It's not all of them. We just need to get the fraudulent ones out, and the ones that actually want to be here and obey our laws, we can keep them. And then, if we really want to make sure we're all good, just shut down the border forever. All right, just shut it down forever. Like I said, we got everybody in the world here. Keep them, and trust me, the generation of those guys will live on through the United States. It is what it is. We're already diverse. I mean, I don't even get what the liberals want. Like, how much diversity do you need? We're already diverse enough. Like, think about it. We got a little Somalia, we got a little Tel Aviv, we got a little like Beijing. I mean, we got a little Haiti. Like, bro, what else y'all want? What else?
Afghanistan or Pakistan, these places.
Like, I feel like we've been quite reasonable.
Where people are coming in and appear to try to be doing harm. I want it to stop. We've got to look out for American citizens. We have to put them first.
Just switching to something else, the Epstein files. You've long championed the victims of sexual abuse, a horror you've talked about enduring yourself. And you've teamed up with Marjorie Taylor Greene to campaign for the release of the Epstein files. They still haven't been released. There are growing concerns that when they do get released, they may have heavy redactions. Do you think that is going to assuage the concerns of the American people, or do you think they should just be put out there?
I think we need to put this thing through regardless. I think that I have the same concerns as the American people about over redacting. I also have concerns about information that won't be redacted. I am very concerned that names of victims will be included. So I'm actually been in communication with the DOJ to make sure that that does not happen. I want to make sure that we're protecting the victims and any possible child sexual abuse material, et cetera. But I am concerned that the information won't get out.
Nah, shout out Ling said, why do you think should be quotas on demographics? To keep these guys from crying, okay, bro? Like, to keep the Muslim guy, the Islamophobes from crying. That's what I'm trying to meet in the middle. I'm trying to be civil, Link, damn it. All right, I'm trying to meet in the middle with these guys. If we can't deport all of them, I'm against that. We can, sprinkle them outside, just sprinkle them all over the state, stretch them out a little bit so they're not changing the demographics dramatically or drastically. Like, that's fair, right? I mean, that will quell some of the Islamophobia a little bit. I'm meeting in the middle.
Out there, I am concerned that predators and rapists and sex traffickers won't get prosecuted out of this thing, no matter how many files are released. I'm deeply concerned about that. We've seen it in so many cases, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein, whether it's the investigation that I initiated 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, I love this one. Shout out to my man Hellbat. Man, a member for 13 months, a year and 1 month. Appreciate the support, my dog. He says, how about this? You don't speak the national language? No? Like, man, shout out. He said, all right, get out. I don't give a fuck about this. Illegal is illegal, and come here and mesh with everyone point blank. Yeah. He's like, I don't care. This illegal is illegal. And to come here and mesh with everyone point blank. I mean, yeah, I hear you on that one. The problem is though, a lot of them actually do want to mesh here, actually do want to live the American lifestyle. So a lot of them were born here through their parents, and then all they know is the American lifestyle. So to sit here and try to throw all of them under a bus for the few of them is doing, I mean, that's wild. It's not fair, but that's how some people are taking this. And I'm just saying, you know what? How about this? If y'all are so scared about how they're changing demographics, and great, let's just spread them out throughout the state. Let's not let them pile up in Dearborn or Minneapolis, and let's just spread them out a little bit more. And then everybody gonna be cool. Then, you know, for their radicals that says, no, it's all part of the Muslim takeover plan. Look, man, they're always gonna be like that, okay? It is what it is with those guys.
It just feels like if you're a woman and you come forward, you are ignored because you are not believed, regardless of the evidence that is out there. And those are the things that I'm fighting for. Every woman, every girl, and some men too, by the way, who've been victims of this sort of thing. And that's where I think there's such deep frustration in both parties. It's not just Republicans and Democrats. What I learned through Epstein is that both sides, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, they want the truth. They want predators to go to the jail. And that just doesn't happen in this country. And I'm running for governor right now. I'm looking at the justice system in South Carolina, where murderers walk free, where rapists see no jail time, where child molesters get a day in jail. I mean, that's the kind of justice system that I'm seeing every single day in bright red South Carolina. And I'm saying enough is enough. And Epstein is only the beginning.
Has the Epstein scandal been badly handled by the Trump administration? They took everybody up the hill saying we're going to release it all, and then they shut it all down. And it seems like they've been kind of bullied now into being properly transparent. Are you disappointed with how long it's taken them to release this?
Well, I want to set the record straight. Number one, President Trump never asked me to get off the discharge petition. There were rumors out there about that sort of thing. He never did that. Number two, we saw President Trump come around and say, release all the files. And even before that, it was President Trump who said, hey, release all of the jury files from the indictments. We'll release all those files. It was President Trump that kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. It was President Trump, who my understanding is did sit down with the—
Hey man, at this point, look, I ain't trying to really talk about Epstein until 2 weeks, until the Transparency Act timeline ends. They have that 30 days, I believe, about a week and a half in. So we're going to see what happens with that. And I ain't going to talk about it really till then, because that's when we're going to see what they really do. Are they really going to be transparent, or are we going to get a whole bunch of, redacted lines on a waist high stacked mountain of papers called the Epstein files?
Authorities. And according to those emails, Jeffrey Epstein thought that President Trump was the snitch. So, we're talking about a man who hasn't been given, I believe, enough credit. And when we were voting on releasing the files, getting to 218 on the discharge petition, all the press wanted to do was say President Trump's name over and over again. And I sat there with deep frustration saying, what about the stories of the women? What about the stories of the men who raped 14-year-old girls? What about the innocence of these women who were stolen at a very young age and never gotten back, and nobody's ever gone to jail? It's not the president. The president was there, I believe, protecting women. And I've seen presidents.
But like I said, I ain't trying to hear about the Epstein files until that date passed. And then I'm going to decide if I'm going to be outraged or satisfied, but, shocked at the same time due to all the information that hopefully they divulge. Hopefully, right? God willing, man.
This PBD podcast, Angry Patriot, Vinny Ashana, liberal streamer, Destiny, the co-founder of Within Our Lifetime, Nadine Kizwani, and Matt Tardillo, who's a podcaster and retired U.S. Army Special Forces soldier. Well, welcome to all of you. Let me start with you, Nadine. Welcome back to Uncensored. Obviously, this is a despicable act of terrorism against two members of the National Guard and has rightly caused outrage. At the same time, there are calls for now every Afghan that was brought to the United States, many of whom risked their own lives during the war to fight against the Taliban, to now be deported back to Afghanistan where they could meet possible death at the hands of the Taliban they fought. So this is a complicated issue. What is your view about what has happened here?
I mean, as you mentioned, I believe in the previous segment, the shooter previously served in one of the U.S.-backed paramilitary.
No, bro. Come on now, dog. I thought we're Christians here. We judge people individually and not as a group. I mean, we don't believe in like judging people as a group. We believe in judging people by their character. Like that's it, as an individual. So let's not even try that. No. It's like some casualties. Look, we know who the perpetrators are. We know who the guys are committing fraud. We know who the ones are here illegally. We know who the ones are getting their status revoked off the TPS. It's kind of unnecessary to go after the whole community, all 80K of them, when let's be real, most of them haven't done anything. Like let's just be fair here. I'm like, we're trying to demonize a whole group for what a few did. I mean, that's just not Christian, nor is it fair. I mean, that's just not ethically fair either, or morally. Like, well, what are we doing?
Units in Afghanistan that's been funded by the CIA. So I think if the U.S. Had never invaded or occupied Afghanistan and never built or armed proxy forces, the shooter or someone like him wouldn't have ended up here, committing the act that he did. So, this is constant blowback. And we see this time.
Well, you could
and
go
time
back further,
again.
though, couldn't you? If you were being reasonable about it, you could go back to if Osama bin Laden hadn't ordered the terror attacks on the World Trade Center that killed nearly 3,000 people, then it wouldn't have been necessary for U.S. forces to go into the country that had been harboring
But who
him.
funded
So,
Al-Qaeda?
well,
I mean, it's
okay.
the same argument.
Again, you can go back as long as you want, but I think to put it in context, obviously the reason that the United States were fighting in Afghanistan was as a response to 9/11. So that is the context. December is Heart Awareness Month, which makes you think differently.
You
about
gotta
the
add that
holiday.
context
Buffalo
right there.
7 order to
Afghanistan, where I mean, at the end of the day, the people of Afghanistan weren't guilty for 9/11. It's these constant wars. It's these constant attempts at regime change. It's the creation of refugees, the destabilization of the Middle East that's constantly going to create this scenario at the end of the day. I mean, and the fact that the National Guard shouldn't have been in DC.
I mean, this whole immigration problem, I guess, with the Muslims and all that is of our predecessors' creation. Like, let's be real, like Bush administration, the whole war on terrorism, like bombing damn near almost every country in the Middle East. And then all of a sudden now all these countries in the Middle East are coming here. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I wonder if they knew this was going to be the result, would they even do it?
Begin with. I mean,
no,
Sarah, the woman who was shot, had told her boyfriend that she felt like being there was pointless. It's really a show of force to distract from multiple things that Trump ran on and failed on. He ran on affordability. He ran on ending foreign wars. Yet they're trying to enact regime change in Iran and Venezuela. They're continuing to arm genocide, and Gaza continuing to arm the bombing of Lebanon. And at the end of the day, this is, going to create blowback where people in the U.S. are going to pay the price. People around the world, innocent people around the world, are going to pay the price, whether with their tax dollars, with their lives, with the decline of the economy. And this is all a distraction at the end of the day. They're scapegoating immigrants instead of looking at the real root of the problem, which is U.S. imperialism wreaking havoc, pillaging people around the world, and not caring, not doing anything to solve these issues here. I mean, like you also mentioned in the previous segment, how many U.S. veterans come back and commit violence at home? So I don't think it's an isolated incident, and they just want to use what happened in DC to scapegoat all immigrants instead of looking at the real cause of the issue. The war hawks and neocons in Washington, the architects of occupation and regime change in Afghanistan.
Oh, I'll give her that one. Like, probably the only thing I agree with her in her entire little spiel right there was, well, actually, second thing. One is that, yeah, due to our interference in the Middle East kind of created this problem. And two, it does seem like we're trying to throw an entire group of people under the bus for what just one guy did.
Syria, Venezuela, creating the instability that forces
without knowing the full fact of the matter. It's like, bro, we don't know if this guy has any link to any terrorist organization. It could have just been a mental breakdown or anything else. Like, this might not even have to do anything that involving his history with the CIA back in Afghanistan. This could be something that happened to him personal here. And there's reports saying that he was radicalized while he was in America. By who? By what? I mean, what's going on? What organization? They just left us with only more questions.
People to flee. I mean, 1 minute they're calling people HTS and other groups in Syria terrorists. The other minute they're meeting with them, then they're funding them. It's all political convenience.
All right, Vinny Ashana, your response to that?
Well, first of all, saying that, if Sarah wasn't in Washington dressed in uniform, she wouldn't get shot, is complete bullshit. Because guess what? If it wasn't her, you don't think this Afghani terrorist would have found somebody else to shoot, just a regular person? And I'm going to go back, Piers. This all goes down, and as my veteran brother will attest, the most abysmal withdrawal of Afghanistan. We could talk about why we're there, and I'll agree with you on 9/11 and all that was complete BS. Everything that followed 9/11 with the illegal war. But how do you bomb a country for 20 years, and then Biden with Alejandro Mayorkas, you let in 80,000 people, no documentation. You can't vet them. There's no paperwork on them. And what do you expect for them to do while they're here? And that's exactly what happened. Okay, you can't assume that these people are going to love America. They hate America, Piers. They absolutely hate America. And there needs to be accountability for Mayorkas and the entire administration for letting these people in. On top of Afghanistan, what about our border? There's 2 million getaways, Piers. That's the freaking population of Nebraska. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their intentions are. And these people hate America, Piers. Plain and simple. There's no paperwork. There's no nothing. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the tip of the iceberg. What this guy gets to Sarah, God rest her soul, it's not going to stop. Just like she just said, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep getting worse. And Trump has no other choice. Piers, it's funny how everybody blames Trump because this is the situation he's been giving. But nobody on the left wants to blame Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas. Why is that? Why is that? I'm just curious.
Okay.
Anybody explain that to me?
Well, let me bring Matt Taddeo in. You're a former U.S. Army Special Forces soldier. You served in Afghanistan. First of all, it seems to me that...
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and stop it here. I'm almost running over time. Your boy still got to go to work, and I still got to prep my car because it's snowing. It's snowing, man. And it's almost Christmas. Yay, it's almost Christmas. But all right. All right, guys, I guess I can go ahead and end with a quick little monologue right here. Appreciate the support, guys. Now, I guess we can get into these strikes here. Now, first off, like I said, we don't know a damn thing about what's going on with these strikes, to be quite honest with you. We got people saying they're fishermen with no proof, saying that they're innocent civilians who are just getting caught up in this whole mess because the cartel like to, coerce people. We don't know. Like, shoot, we don't even honestly know if the cartel is actually running these boats. These could just be random drug boats from some gang. We don't know. So honestly, the only people who do know is the CIA and the military. We just got to wait for that to come out. And if you don't like that, you just want to speculate all day, man, you got the freedom to do so. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I ain't mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Now, as far as all these immigrants getting thrown under the bus, y'all know me. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the Islamophobia. I don't agree with none of that. I don't think that Islam is just this death cult, to be honest. Even when y'all bring up the birth rates, I mean, come on now. They're only 1% of the population. You gonna let 1% of the population now birth you? You don't got enough competition, to be like, nah, we about to have more babies. We gonna make sure we keep the Muslims we stop the Muslims from, I guess, out birthing us. Instead, you want to sit there and complain about it as if it's inevitable? Like, isn't that a bit of the defeatist mentality a bit? Like, oh my God, they're going to outpopulate us. I mean, damn, you didn't even try, dog. You didn't even try to get it popping in the bedroom first. No, you just rolled over for the Muslims. And then you wouldn't complain about it? I don't know. I don't like the attitude. I think we need to have more proactive attitude instead of complaining about Muslims taking over. And then that's the case. I mean, we can always stop them right in our tracks by getting out all the immigrants. And then, of course, making affordability better, raising wages, and there you go. People gonna start having more kids. But if not, I mean, and we let the Dems take over, let's be real. I mean, look, they see declining birth rates. They thinking just bring in more immigrants instead of just trying to make things better for the people, which I don't know where y'all get that from. Like, y'all Dems need to explain that to me. Where in y'all minds did y'all think that, declining birth rates? I could focus on affordability. But let's bring in more immigrants. Like, just fuck it. F the American people, bro. Fuck them, bro. Let's bring in like Julio, man. Let's bring in G in the gang, bro. Like, F the American people. Like, that's kind of how we feeling about it. I know I'm over dramatizing it, but let's be real. That's literally what y'all be saying. Declining birth rates is not an excuse to flood the United States with immigrants, to replace it, instead of just making things better for the American people. I thought y'all cared. I thought you guys cared. Breaking my heart. Breaking my liberal heart. All right. All right, guys. I know. I am. He said you are too much. I know. I could be a bit dramatic. It is what it is. But all right, here. Do we have any question? Well, all right. Any questions here? Nope. It doesn't look like we have any questions. I guess I'm going to be good to go. All right, man. Appreciate the support, guys. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys with some funny videos. And since we're talking about, I guess, the Muslim community, I guess why not go with this one? Appreciate the support, guys. This is Set with Set Media. Make sure you guys hit that up there up top. Yes, hit the icon up top. Subscribe to the channel. We do this every night. All right. See you on the next one. Peace.
Bro, you see all the crazy shit Mamdani is doing now ever since he came back from the White House? Turn on the news. Okay. New York City's Mayor Zohran Mamdani has been on a rampage recently, changing the name of the beloved New York Knicks to the New York Kneelers. Here goes the new logo on screen now. Bro, you see this shit? We're never gonna win a chip now. Who they gonna draft? Alaa Iverson, Sultan Curry, Lebanon James? We're screwed. Oh my God, this is fucking ridiculous. He's not doing any of those things. He also plans on adding a hijab to one of New York's most iconic statues, Lady Liberty. No sense. Now being called the Statue of Modesty, here goes the first look at the new design. New Yorkers' morale is at a halal time low. Oh my God, this is fucking ridiculous. Mamdani has also put out a mandate that all schools must now teach Arabic numerals in the classroom. Here goes a look at what our numbers look like now, and here's what they'll look like in Arabic. As you can tell, it is a drastic difference that will shake up students across the city. He's taking it too far, bro. I'm not gonna have my children in class counting 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna be homeschooling them from now on. There was literally no difference between the two. We already use Arabic numerals in school. Yeah, maybe you do, Cam Dami, but I don't. I use American. Jesus Christ. Mamdani will also be changing this year's New Year's Eve ball drop to a ball explosion. This is what it sounds like currently. A classic. And here's what it sounds like under Mamdani. 3, 2, 1. What a shame. Oh, was that a bomb countdown? What the fuck? Bro, between this shit and all the YMs running the street now, the who? The young Muslims wearing their alaka shiesties, it's time to pack up and get the fuck out of here, and you should too. You know what? That's a good idea. You should leave the city. I'll be right behind you. Fucking.
Basically, I'm here to announce that we're building Iron Man.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay?
So I've become friends with school shooters.
Do you think Bill Clinton was our first black president?
Is Elmo now, or has he ever been, a member of the Communist Party?
El hombre del peliquin.
Gotta have them ribs. And pussy too.
Do you hate cops just because they're cops? The next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. I'm John Kennedy, and I approve this message.
Wakanda forever. Paid for by Kamala Harris.
Someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
I think you called me a liar on national TV. I think you called me a liar on national TV.
I could come down and start kissing everybody. I'll kiss every guy, man and woman. Look at that guy, how handsome he is. I'll kiss him.
Fyodor Dostoevsky, the master of human contradiction, once said, "Nothing is easier than to denounce the evildoer. Nothing is more difficult than to understand him." He didn't write to glorify pain or justify cruelty. He wrote to remind us that every monster was once a child who wanted to be loved. That behind every sin there is a reason we no longer try to see. He believed the soul is not divided between good and evil, but torn between what it hides and what it dares to confess. We judge easily because understanding requires us to look inside ourselves, to see the same chaos, the same fear, the same fragile longing for meaning. Dostoevsky understood that morality is not purity, It's the courage to confront our own darkness without pretending we're untouched by it. And maybe that's why his words still echo today, because we are all, in some way, trying to forgive the parts of our